good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you into the Lima Major. Now we know where's the delay. Don't worry, we'll get you all up to speed with everything that's happening. And of course, we today get to witness some amazing Dota 2. I am joined here this morning by Jenkins, Sheep, and Purge. And the energy of the crowd that is also joining us is electric, isn't it, Jenkins?
That's right. Your camera shot was the only one that didn't have crowd in it, but obviously
really?
you could. Yeah, there was nobody behind you in that one section of the bleachers. And the crazy thing is, like, this already looks like a lot of people. There's a lineup of 2,000 people out there. They're just like trying to check everybody's badges and everything to get them in. It is actually the biggest crowd that I've ever seen at a Dota event. It's insane.
Yeah, and the other side of the stage is actually the more popular side because that's where the players walk in from.
Right.
So naturally, it's over there. It's a mega clump.
But this will fill because there's enough people out there that it has to fill.
Yeah.
It has to fill. And it's sold out on like the finals weekend too. So no matter how many numbers we have here now, we have even more later. So yeah, there was also that the musical performance on the other side too, which was super
really
hype.
good.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We had a good. Really good. It was really
right
good.
here.
Did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
I was
I
dancing.
had a great time. It is a 360 crowd. I think it's important to note that because yes, it's a 360 one, and the players are already on stage. They will be there for a little bit longer, obviously, also to play. But it will be a little while before we get started into the game, so that gives us plenty of time to talk you through how they got there and how we got here, because of course this is the Lima Major. This is the penultimate of Tour 1 of the DPC, and earlier we had a fantastic group stage. We had 5 days filled with Dota 2, and I'm sure you watched games here and there. I don't think anybody could have watched everything. So we're here to keep you up to date. We love to have it colored in because it was a quite brutal group stage, Sheep, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. There were so many close games. Obviously, like the only standout is Liquid, who dominated pretty much everyone, you know. But otherwise, you have lots of 11s, lots of 10s, lots of teams that looked bad on the first few days and then came back, like Hellraisers. So overall, it was just a very even and competitive group stage.
It really was. And there were some crucial tiebreakers at the end. We somehow avoided them in Group A, even though it was like super likely. But Group B, we had the Hellraisers versus Geek Slate that ended in a tiebreaker. Aster Beast Coast played one as well to determine upper bracket, lower bracket. But there were some disappointments for sure. We lost TSM, unfortunately, in the group stage. That was a team that we thought would do better. But on the same vein, there's been some overperformances by some other teams, some slight underperformances by other. Tundra almost didn't make it. That was very, very close. They almost got eliminated in groups. But as a whole, really good group stage.
Yeah, Execration as well. They tied pretty much everybody and ended up getting relegated, which is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice because they know that they're good, but it's unfortunate they're going home.
Yeah, and all those group stage results will lead into this. It's the double elimination bracket that will be played out over the next 6 days, with of course grand finals coming to you coming Sunday. Today we actually have 4 series, and the losers of that will drop to that lower bracket where the teams are already waiting for them. But this is what they all play for, to be able to have that chance in that upper bracket, and then, better yet, win that first series. Because right now, even the teams that are in upper bracket, they are not guaranteed anything yet. Let's take a look at the prize pool to see what they're all playing for, because there's money on the line, which is of course very important. Only top 8 gets money, but I think, okay, I'm saying it like there's a lot of money on the line, but I think DPC points, Purge.
That's what matters, yeah.
That's what matters.
If you do well in your DPC region, you get DPC points just to even be here. So everybody's getting some points when they come home. But if you go farther, it's going to better solidify your chances of making it to TI. The first major gives less points than the subsequent ones by a little bit. But still, there's so many close calls when it comes down to TI.
Last
year, it was like half a point for a couple teams that lost in the slots.
Some rounding issues.
Yes, it is so important to get as many points as possible here. So getting top 8 it's a very possible thing, especially for those teams in the upper brackets. Much closer to getting that.
Yeah, it's incredibly important, and yeah, that one point actually you reminded me. I forgot about that almost, but that just goes to show that these matches, they are everything. These teams need these points, and we're gonna see who picks on the lion's share, of course, towards the end of the week. Now, I did say we have got 4 series coming your way today, and all 4 of those are in that upper bracket. We are gonna end the day with the team that I think most people have as their favorite, especially after the group stages, Team Liquid versus TALON. We're going to have Shopify versus Team Spirit. Sheep, which one stands out to you, though?
Of the whole day?
Yes.
Definitely, well, Entity vs Evil Geniuses I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah.
Obviously just because it's going to be the first game with the South American team in this arena, so the energy is going to be absolutely insane. Can't wait to hear the crowd on that one. Definitely interested to know after the match is played if we ever, like, if we get interviews, like how it ended up actually affecting them. Because so far it's just been like, oh, do you think you'll do well? Like, yeah, we'll do well. It's like, but you don't know until you're playing in the booth. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be a fun match. Like EG will run at Entity. Can Entity deal with that? It's going to be hype.
It's going to be incredibly hype. And which one stands out to you, Purge?
I mean, yeah, the crowd noise stuff is what I'm very, very excited for personally. And we're kind of in this like large tent-like arena, so the sounds are everywhere.
Yes.
So like no matter where you are at this tournament, you are going to hear the crowd roars, which is the best part about being on LAN. So that's got to be the big thing for me. But there's still so many good matches. Is Shopify Rebellion going to keep looking really good? Is Team Spirit going to be the same? All of these matches are so good today, so you guys got to stay for them.
Yeah, I gotta say here for sure, our first matchup is gonna be between Team Aster and Gaimin Gladiators. Both teams, of course, came second into their DPC regions. And they came here via different paths because I believe, Jenkins, Gaimin Gladiators chose their opponent.
They did indeed choose their opponent, and I feel like they chose the team that had to do a tiebreaker. What does it mean if they, let's see, if they lose, they go against Tundra Esports, the TI winner, so it's looking rough for whoever loses that series as well.
Yep.
But Gaimin Gladiators and Aster, I feel like they have pretty different play styles. Quinn has kind of been the carry for Gaimin Gladiators, whereas Aster, they've spoken about Monet being their big, beefy boy, and I'm interested to see what style of this meta actually reigns supreme here.
Well, with that in mind, let's talk about that because group stages gave us quite a large group of information of the games they've played. Both teams have played a lot of games. We learned a lot about their playstyles. We're focusing first on Gaimin Gladiators. Sheep, if you were to describe their playstyle to someone who might have missed their games in the group stages, how would you describe that?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, Jenkins sort of summed it up by saying that they play around Quinn.
Yeah.
I think Quinn has opened up their style to be a lot more flexible than what it used to be. I think it was Duraccio that spoke of how when they had Boom on the team, they had to come mid a lot more and really focus on helping him play. But now they know that their mid will always go 50-50 or win, because they trust Quinn so much, and he is insane. So it means that they can focus more on their side lanes, or they can come mid. I think you can tell that everyone is a lot more comfortable. They have a very strong support duo, and when they're given that space to make moves where they want to make moves, I think this team just looks insanely good. And Ace has been awesome from the offlane for sure as well.
The only other really specific thing about them is that their support duo has a pretty limited hero pool, which isn't a huge deal because like the heroes of the meta are Tree and Undying, both heroes that they're really comfortable with.
Celery has played Tree and Undying in every single game. When we saw the walk-ons and I saw him like looking, you know, he's got this kind of dead inside look all the time. It's just how he looks, you know. He's a very happy guy, but he looks like the face of a guy that's been playing Tree and Undying every single game, just supporting his carry.
I mean, they'd also love to get their hands on the IO, but I feel like that's been banned all the time as well.
Yeah.
So it's it's definitely interesting support duo to keep in mind and to keep our eyes on. And if we ask ourselves the same question for Aster, how would you describe their playstyle? Because indeed, Jake, as you said, they focus a little bit more on Monet.
They do, yeah. And so to allow that, they've been picking XXS a lot of like summons heroes. So they kind of do this like map thing where they're just trying to like take over an area and like cause chaos so like Monet can get to his item timings. And the like flip side of that is the Gaimin Gladiators, they're picking Ace like a lot of stunners, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is the mid lane. Like Quinn's mid lane heroes have been, he's been like 3 heroes. Puck, Bat, and Leshrac. Like those are the 3 heroes, right? So he's running around, he's like causing chaos. And the opposite of that is like the offlaner being the guy that's doing that. So I guess we'll see like what is better, having your mid as the carry guy or having the carry as the actual carry guy.
Yeah, for sure. And the mid is on both teams. Player that got swapped out after TI, or at least a fresh face. I think some people might remember the runs that Aster had. Of course, top 4 at TI is definitely amazing. Gaimin Gladiators 9-12, not as good, but they also swap things around. The question is, is it a solid improvement? Shape? Or
can I take
Yeah,
that?
go
I
for
think
it.
it's a great improvement for both teams. I think XWY has really been showing up. It's the guy right in the middle of the screen there. He's been playing really solid. He gives great interview answers, which is also very very nice
and
to
he's
have.
the new guy, so he's got to do that.
That's true.
He's earning his place.
So he's showing up. He's playing with these like legendary players that have been playing for a very long time. He's doing well. Quinn is a perfect fit. I think he's a huge upgrade over Boom. So I think both teams are coming in with really capable rosters.
I have a stat, an interesting stat. These teams have never played each other. Never.
Ever. Did they
Never.
dodge at the? Did they dodge at TI?
They've been dodging each other, and the only time that Aster has faced any of these players, at least recently, was Quincy Crew in the lower bracket round 1 of the hell was it? Something.
Of a tournament.
Of a tournament.
So they played
I
against
lost
Quinn.
it in my notes.
They played against Quinn 1.
They played against just Quinn.
Okay.
I think it was TI. I think it was TI. TI-10. It was TI-10. Yeah, it was Quincy Crew.
Okay.
And Quincy Crew eliminated them, by the way.
Well,
So they've got beef. They've got beef. It was just Monet, XXS, and Baboka at that time.
Gotcha.
But they've got beef with Quinn.
Yeah, maybe they can get some revenge here on stage. We are very soon ready to head into a draft, so I would like to ask it if we have a clear favorite. Of course, in group stages alone, we saw Gaming do very well. They came top of their group. Aster has said they had to play tiebreakers to even be in the upper bracket. But I feel like being on a stage like this, everything changes. First, what do you reckon?
It does, but both squads have quite a lot of experience at this point. I mean, maybe Gaimin Gladiators is a newer team to make it to majors consistently, but they've had enough now where I feel like they're both on equal footing. Neither of them is likely to have a fan base. I guess Quinn is more appreciated and has memes here, so he's got meme power, so maybe they're more likely to just cheer for him, but I don't really see the crowd going either way, so I just think it'll be about even.
I will say that we had earlier, there were some on the broadcast that is here live in the arena, we had some shots on all the players separately. Quinn on camera, big fan favorite. Like there was definitely louder. Everybody cheered for everyone, which was very nice, but Quinn definitely got the loudest cheer.
It's from the streams, man. It's the US East pubs.
Yeah. They see him in his games, right?
They do.
The streamers,
they
watch
straight down mid, right?
Well, sometimes,
North America, South America, definitely related in the player base there for sure. And Jenkins Sheep, do you have preferences as to who's going to take game number 1 here? Or the series, if you will.
It's you take the bias from the groups and you want to say Gaimin. I do like Gaimin. I think their game plan is going to be a lot easier, and I think they're more flexible. Like you'll see Doraccio sometimes play carries like the Lina, the Troll, and the Naga, but he can also play way more sacrificial. He'll talk about sometimes Ace is playing this Nature's Prophet, Quinn's playing his Leshrac. There's no room for me to farm, and he's willing to take that hit and go like put himself out and take the hard farm. He'll feed a bit, but he's fine doing that because he knows he can rely on his cores. Whereas Aster is so focused on Monet as their win condition, as their key player, as their coach has said in this season, that if they are able to shut down that condition, then really I'm not sure who picks up the pieces. I think they're all still good, but I think their game plan is a lot more easier.
I have an argument on the flip side, actually.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I was looking at a lot of Gaimin's drafts, and I noticed that so Quinn obviously is playing on a pretty small hero pool in this tournament because he's getting these heroes, right? And he's not getting these heroes in the first phase. They're second phasing his Bat Riders, his Leshracs, his Pucks, and he's popping off, and they're really relying on him to carry the game, just like Aster is relying on Monet to carry the game. What happens if they start banning out Quinn? That's a question that I have, where they're obviously going to identify this in the drafting coming from Gaimin Gladiators. It's something they could punish.
I mean, I see that, but I feel like both of the two teams kind of have like slightly different hero pools. So it's like it's maybe going to be less about countering their strats versus like just playing with your own comfort. Like both teams, that Gladiators are going to get like either Tree or Undyne for Celery. That's going to happen for sure. Aster's been consistently picking Phoenix, and it seems like Gaimin Gladiators I don't think has even played the hero yet. So I just feel like both teams are just going to get their own strat and just going to try to beat the other person with what they have.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a good thing to do in game 1. It is upper bracket. That's where you stick to your guns as well.
Yeah.
Big difference from group stage compared to here. Of course, this is the time where teams have had the chance to properly sit down and go over what they learned from the group stage, the daybreak, and who knows what they're going to come up with. Everything might have changed in the day that we didn't watch any game, right? We have to see what's going to happen. One thing that I still wanted to touch upon before we head into this game, we have on one hand the most the most close Bobby situation, in the words of Jenkins, on the side of Aster, with XXS and Baboka playing together for 7.5 years. Baboka actually has never been in a team without XXS. XXS was like in one team before that or so. I find that amazing. I think that is, I mean, it's unparalleled and probably will go unparalleled for a long time to come, Purge. That's insane, isn't it? 7.5?
I knew they played a long time, but when you said the years, I'm like, holy crap.
It's not even close. Second place is not even close to them. It's insane.
That's wild. But it makes sense, right? They're both very storied players. They've both been really good for very long. There's periods of time where maybe not XXS has ever been regarded as the best offlaner, but Baboka definitely has been regarded as the best for a long time. So it makes sense that they'd stick together if they get along. Their teams are still having success. Yeah. Hopefully they keep going.
XXX definitely has been regarded as the best player on like certain meta heroes at a given point.
Legion Commander!
I was thinking Broodmother. I watched him to see like his Broodmother micro at some point. He's like, man, this guy's he's crazy. Spiders everywhere before there was like the hotkey for it. He just box selects all of them. He's just super quick. He's like a StarCraft player. It's insane. I couldn't believe it. I didn't learn a thing.
It's a good thing, good talent to have for this tournament since Brood is the hero.
Well, I don't think it's gonna get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, every team that has second pick bans at first phase. Every single team does this, right?
You don't give XXS Broodmother, especially because they've been picking all sorts of other summons heroes in the off lane, even aside from the Broodmother.
That's very true. Just to counter the, you got the long-term best friendship Bobby situation ever with XXS and Baboka. I do want to then also say, maybe other duos haven't been together for that long, but the start of it is there because Ace and Tofu, they literally wanted to continue laning together. It's how they got on Team Tickles with the two of them like over a year ago, because Ace used to be carry, Tofu was a 5, and they're like, okay, we want to continue laning together, and they're like, all right, 3 and 4 it is. They stuck together, Sheep.
It's honestly weird to look at the different dynamics between all these different things. Like, for example, if you look at Saberlight leaving his team, right? He was like, oh, I felt like I could learn more by moving to Shopify.
Yeah.
So when you move teams around and you start to play with new people, you learn a lot from the other experiences. And then you get to your XSS Baboka, they must not be learning anything, from each other anymore. But they can still learn together.
They've got other teammates.
Yeah. And then you have these guys on Gaimin in like the middle spot where they're pretty comfortable and happy playing together. I don't know if they're on that like honeymoon anymore, but I think you're in a good spot if you are making it work and able to work through any problems, because you see a lot of teams in like your East, for example, fall apart. Yeah. So it's always a good sign for me if people are like happy.
I feel like Quinn needed the like Gaimin Gladiators treatment the most. Like when we're talking about like learning from other players, like Saberlight going to Shopify, to me, is the same as Quinn going to Gaimin. Even though, like, I know that's not why he went there. Like, he went there because it's obviously a great opportunity for him. He wasn't thinking about that, but I think if he did eventually come back to the NA region, like, this guy's going to be just a beast of a player. We'll see if he can break the Quinn curse on the main stage, because there has been issues of, potential choking happening, and for a team that has been heavily relying on him to every game, he's like 17-2, owning Batrider, Puck, doing this crazy shit. We'll see if that hurts them.
We'll see.
I feel like he's just played so many games at this point that it just doesn't phase him. Like, he's been to so many tournaments now. This is the best team he's ever been on, I think is safe to say. Even not that he hasn't had decent results in the past, but he's never really hit his true potential, and I feel like this is the team that can do it.
It is.
I hope so.
And one of the factors that comes into play when you're saying like, can he continue basically be the force that he was in the group stages, it comes down to coaching, I think. I want to talk a little bit about coach, because both teams didn't just change their mid player. They also changed coach. Aster no longer has Lanham. They have ROTK, which of course, I mean, it's a veteran. It's a goated coach. So ROTK on one side, and then the other side, we got Gaimin Gladiators coming in with a coach that before this event, before this season, before this tour, CY, not a lot of people would have heard about him. He played in a lot of Tier 2, had a little bit of a break, came back, apparently a friend of Ace and
I think the most interesting thing that Dyrachyo talked about in that long interview actually was that the coaching style is a little different. The previous coach was more like, here's the whole draft. Yeah. I'm going to make most of the decisions, then you guys play it. The way that they described it with CY doing is that the individual players get to make more decisions, which fits in really well with the whole choosing to protect Quinn if he needs it thing. Quinn can ask for runes,
Yeah.
but it's not always needed. So it just gives way more flexibility to the team, and that's going to mean that flexibility is what wins you games sometimes, because then you let the players who know the game insanely well feel what they feel and use that to get victory. So I think this coaching style could really help with them.
It also helps that the runes always spawn on the side that Quinn is at.
Yeah,
that Ice
true.
Frog actually put that directly in the game, so that helps out.
That's a big buff. I didn't know there was a patch. I heard that people wanted a patch.
That's been in the patch for a long time.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's good, of course. You need to enable Quinn, and I think he is thriving well with this coach as well. I talked to him yesterday about it, and he said that he really likes this because he doesn't need a personal coach. He feels like he's engaged enough with the team and stuff, and has like his own ideas and strengths, and like he's already really good mechanically. Like he doesn't really need help with that. So this coach being more collaborative with the whole team and bringing everyone else like together and making the vibes really good. Helping, just in
Be like positive and productive. He was limiting them on their drinks. He's like, okay, guys, 1 drink. We got to get that good deep REM sleep tonight, so that we can strengthen those neural pathways. I kid you not. I was bonding with this guy about like sleep stuff.
Yeah, you've been talking about it for like months, and everyone's like, yeah, shut the hell up.
And he's like, oh yeah, that deep REM sleep. And I'm like, holy shit, he knows what REM sleep is. My boy.
He talks about REM sleep all the time.
He
I'm
does.
sick of it.
Yet he still drinks like 8 energy drinks. Oh, I'm sorry, 4.
I've cut it back. But he's limiting them. He's like, okay, guys, we're not going to go full Jenkins. We'll go half.
That is actually very valuable, because when you live that degen lifestyle to get as good as you need to at Dota to become a pro, you legitimately do have to put your life aside a bit. I think that's personally why young players tend to seem better than older players, because as you get older, you start balancing your life better, and then you have less time to mega grind. So like if you have a guy to come in and give you the easy mode, like schedule your life for you and tell you what you need to do to like really min-max your out-of-game stuff, that's certainly just going to translate to in-game performance as well.
Well, it has paid off tremendously for Gaimin Gladiators. They are, of course, on top of their group. They did very well in the Western Europe DPC as well. I want to focus a little bit more on Aster because, yes, they're in upper bracket. They did have to play tiebreakers. And I feel like Aster is doing very well for the region. They are the only team from the Chinese region coming into the upper bracket. So I feel like they should have done better, though. I kind of like Aster is supposed to be. They are supposed to have broken the curse, Sheep, because they used to have a curse and they're like TI 4th. They broke it, yay, let's go. And then here they are. Yeah. I mean, still upper bracket, but not as good as they should be.
Yeah, it's crazy because they do get those high placements, but they don't cinch the victory. And they have spoken on that a little bit. They said that they were lacking energy during Arlington, so they weren't really able to carry any sort of momentum through to reach the end. And then during TI 11, they felt that they had real issues with being passive and non-aggressive. You look at their games this tournament, and I think that while they try and make moves, it seems like after a certain point they're running out of like ideas, and then everything sort of becomes very passive while they wait for Monet to carry the game for them. That's where I've felt that they've looked the weakest.
But they have good potential. I mean, they underperformed slightly in the group stage from what I expected, but they're still very good players. They clinched it. They're in the upper bracket. I could definitely see them make a turnaround here. Definitely possible.
I mean, they did just break the curse. Like, they are the premier Chinese team now, honestly, like over LGD. I really feel like after TI and the previous majors, but like this is like a new thing. And also, after TI especially, like we saw two last chance qualifier teams end up getting second and third. And, you know, Puppy said it at TI. You don't want to just win. You don't want to win out. You also don't want to lose out, because if you lose out, you lose your confidence. If you just win, you're like too confident. You're egotistical. You don't have like replays to watch where like, okay, we can actually improve on these things. So I don't know. I feel like Aster, because of how well they did last year, and they have got a lot of games under their belt, and they've got a lot of stuff that they can learn from those games. I'm actually fairly confident that this is going to be a very close matchup, closer than people think, given how Gaimin performed in the group stage.
would I have time to go back to the coaches a little bit? Because I think that probably affects them too.
I think so. We are waiting for the go signal on the draft. We are very close. At some point, I'm going to get a 30-second countdown, and then I need you to wrap it up. But I haven't gotten that yet, so feel free.
Love that. So obviously they switched from LANM to ROTK, and they are quite different in terms of coaching style. Monet said that LANM was very detail-oriented in-game, whereas ROTK looks more at the bigger picture in the laning stage. On top of that, it's been, when we spoke to ROTK, he said that his goal was to bring 6 players together through daily life practice and understanding, and that he wanted to make sure that him and XWY were fitting into the previous player's playstyle. So it's less of like, I have ideas and I want you to ascribe to it. It's more like, we want to get used to you. So there might be just an issue of time here where they need to be able to fit themselves in better. And I know that Monet said that he was, he said he was trying to get used to the new lineup because LANM was the leader before outside of the game.
Yeah.
So going from that leader to a new one or not having that, I'm not sure the dynamic now.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like, I feel like what's going to have to happen is one of the players in game is going to have to take that leadership, which it could happen in a group stage or it could happen in an entire tournament. Yeah. Obviously for their sake and their fans, we're hoping that it's in the group stage. They've figured it out, but it does take a while to integrate a player. And maybe even they try that and they're like, okay, this is not working. Let's like play to XWY, let's change a little bit. But that's also something that can take an entire tournament, maybe even like a couple of seasons to figure out.
Yeah, it could for sure. On the upside for them, I hope it doesn't take seasons. I hope it takes tours, because this is, of course, the pinnacle of Tour 1. So, the first major of the season, they still have that time to adjust, and they just want to get as much hours as possible playing, especially in front of this crowd, and get that experience and indeed evolve on the back of it. We're going to have to wait and see if they actually can do that, because we're not ready yet for the draft, and they are still coming in as, I would say, the Gaimin Gladiators coming in as a favorite here, but there are also signals that Aster could do very well. A lot of people have said before the tournament started, Group A, not as strong as Group B, which would mean that Aster has faced stronger opponents. Of course, they have learned from Liquid. If you take Liquid as the team to beat, then Aster has more on-hands experience. Do we think that that's going to have an impact?
I mean, generally yes, but I'm just so sure that they're screaming teams from the opposite group as well. Like that's something, especially on the day off, it's like your last chance to like pack some strategies in or try some weird stuff out, and certainly there's going to be some crossover there if you can get that. So I don't know if the Group A versus B talk is super founded, but with that said, by the end of the tournament, that sometimes happens. It's like all the top 6 teams are from one group, or the top 4 teams or whatever. I mean, look at TI. It's like, oh, wildcard teams just crushed, went from wildcard, smashed, broke faces, got to the finals.
Now, also at TI, there was something that was very obvious at some point, that the Western European teams were only knocking out each other, as in all the Western European teams were only knocked out by other Western European teams, and that made, I believe, XXS Jenkins be very. You told me this. You don't have to give me the face.
What did I tell you?
He went to study. He went to study what the Western Europeans are doing.
Okay, yeah. So he said in an interview that he basically was studying the best European teams, and he listed off some of them, and the only one that he didn't list off was Gaimin Gladiators, which is really funny. Oh, there he is. What a legend. The crowd goes wild. But, I assume he meant all of them, and he just listed, some of them. But, yeah, I think it's pretty widely believed among the players that Western Europe is kind of like, they've, leapt ahead in terms of who's really good at Dota. I mean, depending on, the year, it's a different region, and I feel like, you could even argue at different times, maybe SA is the second best recently, but it's pretty much been Western EU dominance for the last couple of years. And yeah, he said that he's paying attention to that, and we'll see if that comes back to bite him. Yeah,
we'll see indeed. I mean, let's see. There was for the Western European teams in Group A, Tundra wasn't doing too hot, and then you got Liquid obviously doing very well, and then the other team in Group B was. Why am I blanking on this?
I'm blanking too. It's the heat.
Wait, sorry.
It's getting to me.
The other team in Group B.
We're talking about Europe.
SHOPIFY.
Entity.
Oh, the other Western European team.
Entity was amazing.
And Entity also came second in their group, so
yes,
we know that they have had a great showing in the group stage as well. With only Tundra of the 4 Western European teams here, falling short a little bit, but that does mean that Aster, they have also played against Entity, so they had 2 good Western European teams to practice against, while Gaimin Gladiators, you know, they only had Tundra.
It is true that it's like
Does it sound mean?
Only.
it's a question of like
only a TI win against.
they're like going to be in their comfort zone for like the next few matches, like if they, you know, continue onward, or well, they're upper bracket, so even if they don't, you know, even if they lose one, they'll be in their comfort zone. Is that a good thing? Like, how much have things changed throughout the group stage in this major? Like, I feel like not that much in terms of the meta that was like DPC Div 2, which was copying DPC Div 1. I feel like there's not been that much that has changed.
Are you saying that all these teams are taking strategies from Fart Studios?
That's exactly right. Shout out to Fart SJ, drafter and captain of Fart Studios.
How long did it take us to get to that one, huh? not that long.
I was
longer
hoping it
than
would
I
never
thought.
come,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
That was not bad.
All right, I wanna talk about some of those meta changes that you guys mentioned, because I feel like we have seen changes over the last 5 days, or over the last 6 days, I guess, during the group stages. We, of course, started it's the Lima major. Everybody's like, the Lina major instead. Lina's so good. And we did see a lot of Linas. We sort of ignored Hero there. But I kind of feel like...
Unsuccessfully, I will say.
Yeah,
That's not
that's
true.
fair.
Liquid is the one team that's factually not scared of Lina. They like don't often ban it, so there are, and considering they're the top team, that's I think a good indication for the future. But it also could just be that they are so good. But it's banned often
Okay.
in first phase.
I was going to say, we've also seen teams try to copy what Liquid has done, like exactly Liquid draft against Lina, and it doesn't work. It's like, it's one of those things that like requires so much coordination.
It's almost like you have to practice things.
You do have to practice
Yeah, maybe the
things.
one day
I
has,
mean, made a difference. Who knows?
has made a difference.
The biggest change from the start to now, though, is probably Undying swelling to like first pick material consistently.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That hero came a little bit under the radar. Everybody knew Tree was coming. Tree's still very good, but Undying is now being picked more, I believe, and has a similar-ish solid win rate considering the pick amount. So that's a hero we're definitely going to see on the Gaimin Gladiators side. If they don't get Tree, I don't know which one they necessarily like more between the two, but they're very similar archetypes.
I will say that for me, the hero that popped up that I wasn't necessarily expecting it was the Bat Rider. We've seen it be very strong so far in the group stages. Why did Bat Rider? Did it come out of nowhere? Am I the only one that thought it was kind of
high?
I'm high.
I mean, I knew it was
I mean,
going
it
to be...
was there,
I
but
saw
it
it
wasn't
banned-
like
Yeah,
there.
I saw it banned a lot in second phase, but not often picked first phase. And
That's-
now it's like a first
That's what I was
phase.
going to say. That's what came out of nowhere, is that nobody thought this hero was first phaseable.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Wait,
surely
that's
they
not
just...
true at all.
It's definitely true. Are
How
you
is
kidding
that
me?
true?
It's
Like-
always second phase. Okay, people would first phase it on 8th pick. Is that
Yeah,
what you're going to say?
yeah.
Of course they would 8th pick it because they can protect it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
with
saying
people
there are teams
wondering,
overall first
eighth
picking.
Oh,
it.
like
pick is
five?
actually second pick.
Okay, yeah.
Who's
the-
five
in the-
picking
yeah,
it?
four.
As in they
Yeah.
picked the Bat Rider when there are no picks left in the first phase, and then they have 3 bans for it.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
people believed that all you needed was to ban like Queen of Pain, Pango, Puck, maybe like you needed bans for it. But now people are like, go ahead, pick Queen of Pain. It's a shit hero.
Yeah,
pick Puck,
yeah.
pick Pango. We still have a Bat Rider. Like, deal with it.
I don't think Queen is that bad. I've heard good things about Queen. Like, I know Queen overall is a bad hero, but like we've seen people flexing the Queen of Pain to the safe lane, you know, to catch off the, like there's been Bat Rider teams that pick the hero, get Queen of Pain, they're like, okay, I'm gonna put Bat Rider in the off lane, haha, got you, and then they just put Queen of Pain safe lane, and then it owns the bat.
Well, but then Bat farms Ancients and
then-
then gets huge.
And
Guys,
the Queen,
the
Queen
loses a
wins
lot.
these games.
I love the hero
Don't-
talk, but
don't
let's
talk.
be real.
I want to fight.
We have a dedicated panel for hero talk, so let's head over to them.
and all, here to the draft panel. We are about to get into it. Game number 1 between Team Aster and Gaimin Gladiators. This is a upper bracket matchup to determine who gets to proceed in the upper bracket and who drops down to the lower. My name is Snam, joined by Fear and Estini. And Fear, this is a very intriguing matchup. For me, one of the interesting things about this matchup is that right now, Team Aster, there's only 2 other teams in the tournament that have a wider hero pool than them. Erstwhile, for the side of Gaimin Gladiators, only 2 other teams have a shallower hero pool than them. Talk to me about this kind of matchup when one team has a very vast hero pool and the other one has a much more shallow one.
I mean, it comes down to specialization at that point, right? So, like, if you are good at your heroes and you can just play a couple, you can make it go a long way. But then you have teams that have, like, a very vast hero pool that can play many different things. That's scary to play against as well. And, like, some of the heroes that I did want to talk about that are very scary to play against Asters is their Enchantress. They first picked the Enigma. This Enchantress's Phoenix has been, like, the crutch of, like, most all their lineup so far. They haven't lost with Ench yet. We'll see if they do want to pick it up here. They don't, like, always first pick it, but this is a hero we definitely have to look out for.
We certainly do, Estini. And one of the things that Gaimin Gladiators has learned, I think, from Team Liquid as well, whenever Team Liquid has second pick, they always open up with Nature's Prophet +1. And this Nature's Prophet hero has looked terrifying at the tournament so far. So what do you make of the opener from Gaimin Gladiators? Where do you think they're going to go with the draft at this point in time?
It looks really good because the Prophet's a hero that they can play on the offlane and is a carry. So it keeps the draft open. They get to see more heroes from Aster and decide if they want to counter the core-to-core matchups or counter lanes. It's a hero that they started playing on the European DPC when no teams were playing, so they definitely mastered the hero. But it was very unlikely that teams let them play this hero, so really looking forward to what they can show as Aster picks up Phoenix that Fear mentioned about. A lot of team fight from Aster's side.
Yeah, I mean, they love this Phoenix, and I think what's really scary is that Pichu and Baboka, they kind of like a shared hero pool. So when you see this Phoenix, you don't really know where it's going. It could be their 4, it could be their 5, but one thing is for sure, they do like this hero a lot. They like having like this overwhelming team fight. They got Black Hole and Egg. That is incredibly scary to like team fight into. But I did like the ban from Aster here. You were a little worried about Io getting through the pool. But they love playing that Io with the Leshrac. So they actually first phased the Leshrac and got it out of the pool there. And yeah, just to do a quick touch-up on Treant as well, I guess that's their response to like Enigma, right? They're going to stop the Black Hole with the Overgrowth and just a generally powerful meta hero now, getting all the trees on their side with NP and Treant.
It's also a strong laner. They've always choose a strong laner, either Undying or Treant. I personally like Undying a bit more than Treant, especially because Enigma can kick you out of the lane, and you want to keep your lane when you're Treant, right? You want to save the tower, you want to sit there on the dead lane, you get this farm on a position 5 hero, and then you kind of have 4 cores because you're farming all the sides of the map. But Enigma can kick off this hero out of his tower. So pretty decent still. A lot of team fight.
I like that Team Aster is banning some of the more effective heroes that we've seen Gaimin Gladiators use. The Ember for Quinn is not going to be available in this matchup. He's played that hero a lot, very successfully, as well as the Sniper being gone. Dirajo's played this a couple of times in the safe lane, but the main thing is that whenever you have this Treant Protective here, it does enable these sort of squishier range heroes to be played in the safe lane. Right. Looking at that, it feels like Team Aster is expecting that this Nature's Prophet is going off lane rather than the safe lane, given the ban of the Sniper.
It's just leaving the possibilities open, right? Because like playing even Sniper as Enigma is very difficult. Natural Egg hitter as well. So like it's just one of those heroes that just looks like a nuisance for them to play against. So like, I mean, Ace will play this in the off lane, but they can also play in the safe lane if they wanted to. That's like the beauty of Nature's Prophet here, especially on second pick. They can save this all the way into the last pick, right?
Yep. Puck gone, Batrider gone. So what's left in the mid lane here? We still have the Spangolier that we've been seeing coming up every now and then. On the side of Team Aster, XWY has played Tiny, Tusk, and Void Spirits. Tiny has gone away. Hey, can't really play Puck in this game. Are there any kind of Spirit heroes that you see still being available here, Stini? Or do you think that Gaimin Gladiators aren't going to necessarily go for Reach and they might go for like a more shell style with a Death Prophet or something?
I really like the Puck for them, but they just banned Puck, which might show they want a Pangolier, because Puck's a hero on the mid lane that's good against Pangolier. It's really good for Void Spirit, but super early to pick a Void Spirit because this hero is just not good in the meta. So you want to see more heroes should you make the decision to go in Void Spirit. I believe they would just pick a support here, generic support, so they don't need to show the mid lane yet, and then they get more information out of Aster.
Yeah, I mean, they've done this exact draft before, and they picked Tusk, but they were playing first pick, or second pick, sorry, not first pick. So they might change it up a little, but what they preferred in the last time they ran this Enigma plus Phoenix together was the Tusk. They ended up going Phoenix, Enigma into a Tusk. So like, they're very happy with this opening. This is actually their last match they won against Beast Coast. They did these combinations of heroes. But that being said, they were second pick last time, and this is going to be a first pick game for them. So maybe they consider going something else depending on what they see here, right? And they're probably just going to see a pos 4, most likely coming out of Gaimin Gladiators here. But if they don't, Aster will counter that. And then if they're put in a situation where they do just need to pick a generic hero, they're going to have to counter something. And I think the best place to start is just like end up picking your mid most likely instead of your carry. So I do think the Tusk might come out if there's, or the Pangolier. No, the Pangolier. So I think Tusk is highly likely to come out.
How do you guys feel about Snapfire here? Good against the Phoenix in some regard, but in particular, I like the combination with the Strian Protector. We've seen that a couple of times being done by GG and just throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
Just having that overgrowth with the Morty's Kisses, and always like some degree of lockdown if you are going to have the Snapfire come into the pool.
It's pretty decent, and it's also a teamfight counter. He's the biggest teamfight counter silencer. If you cannot press their spells, you're countered on the teamfight. Or at least they can get a jump and silence, kill Enigma or kill Phoenix before she pops the egg, or Enigma before he pops the black hole. You can definitely also save for the black hole. It's kind of like on this situation that you actually want to use on 2 ways, but as a silencer against Enigma, you just hold. You just hold your ultimate, and you're going to counter him basically almost the entire game.
No, I like that a lot. I think a lot of teams in the group stage kind of forgot about shutting down the black hole, and they were picking more heroes just for like the laning stage, and then you'll see some late game black hole come out, and then Enigma's a great hero in the late game, and that's when this hero is most strong. Sure, you buy Greaves, you can take off Global, but just be patient on the silencer. And if you survive the early game timing of the Enigma, I think he's the weakest of all the Zoo heroes as far as timing goes compared to like the Lycan and the Beast. If you shut down his late game potential in the black holes, it feels like you can always win the game. And there's the Tusk we saw. It looks like Aster's just kind of running it back. It's a great hero for the mid lane. It does provide some, BKB lockdown, but say if NP's hitting the egg, you can just knock him up for a little bit. So these type of things help a lot. And this hero just eats silencer. Like, if they can get on top of him, kill him right away, that's another win condition for being able to get these big teamfight ultimates later on in the game.
I'm worried about their lane, because Silencer doesn't seem like NP carry. Silencer NP, it's just a weird lane. Silencer needs some frontliner. Maybe you can go Troll, that's amazing against Tusk, but not that good against Enigma at all. The hero pool of the carry is gonna be getting lower and lower. There is Naga, which would be a huge counter to every Aster hero here, in my opinion.
Death Prophet. So this Tusk is probably going to be going into the 4 position now if this DP is going to be picked up, because I can't necessarily see them putting the safe lane. So this will be the first game in the tournament that XWY is playing the Death Prophet, and it's not one of these heroes that necessarily requires you to be a specialist on to do really well with, right? It helps a lot, but you don't necessarily have to be in that particular position. Is there anything left mid that you think can deal well with what the Death Prophet is bringing to the table, especially considering that it has to be a hero that can survive rotations from the Tusk?
I mean, we've seen some Queen of Pain in the past be used mid. I guess Bat is gone. Sniper's gone. For Quinn's hero pool, I guess he will probably pick his hero. I mean, you could do NP mid, but that's not really a Quinn style type. So they have some interesting things. But what is Storm. That's not really a matchup you particularly win mid with normally. And you're against the Silence. I think this is a very risky pick in a lot of ways. I mean, Quinn is an amazing Storm Spirit player, to say the least, so I'm very interested to see how this goes. But what is very interesting for me is, will this DP be going mid? It kind of like has to. I agree with you in that regard. But at the same time, XYW, he hasn't played that style once. He's always been a Tiny, a Tusk, a Puck, an Ember. He's been the Storm himself. So Aster's like making some adjustments here, which makes you wonder, is this going to be improvement for them, or is this going to be something so new that they really have to adjust a lot to coming into this group main stage?
I agree with Fiorestini that the Storm Spirit does feel a little bit worrying in the laning phase, right? But after the laning phase, there's not that much lockdown for him. And at some point in the game, if he does pick up BKB, only really afraid of Black Hole at that point, right? You should never get hit by the Supernova. Tusk doesn't really do anything mid-game to the Storm Spirit anymore. So what do you think Team Aster needs to do to try and address the Storm Spirit pick in the mid-game, given that they should have an okay lane against it?
Because when you think a carry against Storm, you think anti-mage, and then you think I shouldn't be thinking anti-mage. If they get a carry with the fast tempo.
Troll, I think, right? I mean, he has the perma root. Yeah. He loves the hero. He's playing for potentially Nature's Prophet. He doesn't get a last pick, right? So for a Monet hero, Troll's pretty decent for Storm in a lot of ways. If you get a lucky bash, a lucky root, and then it's over for Storm. So
how do you boys feel about Ursa as well? That feels like the other option that could potentially come out of him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, he does like playing it a lot. It's fine. But he is potentially playing into a counter pick that could be pretty nasty. But I'm just taking a look at their bans here. It looks like they're going to have Enigma. They're banning for Enigma here.
I like to throw a bit more because of the lane against Prophet.
Yeah, I mean, but it could get banned here by Gaimin Gladiators. They have one more ban. I'm sure they've done their research, knowing, you know, Monet's most played hero, Troll, with a crazy high win rate. It's gone.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get it. So is he really going to be that one-dimensional to just be like, pick me Ursa here? Or is there something better he can get throughout this pool? And that's always like going to be the question. Like, Drow Ranger has a silence. That's a hero he's played before. Is that better than the Ursa? Hard to say. I mean, this is not a very simple pick for him. He's played Bloodseeker. You don't want to play that for Storm. Storm is a hero that's been rising in popularity, I feel, a lot as we've been through this tournament. And a lot of people are like kind of re-remembering counters. And I feel like your carry's job generally isn't the one that deals with the Storm. And that's why the Storm came out, because it's mainly the supports, the mid laners that can really shut it down. And that is another hero he's played. Don't you just put NP maybe offlane now if you see this Morphling and pick something to deal with the Enigma at this point if you are Gaimin Gladiators?
And it seems like that's the option.
There's the Drow.
Drow comes out at the end of the draft here for the side of GG. Astini, talk to me about this Aster draft. When you look at it and how it's all come together, right? What's your feeling overall? What's your read on how they've constructed this particular 5-hero draft?
They're thinking a lot of team fights, purely team fight, but they need to get away with lanes. That's the thing. Like, if it's a 5-man team fight, they will win. But also, during the game, I don't know if they can match the pace, especially because there's an MP, Chauvin Waves, there's Storm. They don't have enough catch against the Storm, in my opinion. So I feel like GG can just avoid them in the map and avoid those big team fights. And if a big team fight happens and Aster uses a big cooldown, such as Black Hole or the Phoenix Egg or AXO, then you can do Roche and apply more pressure in the map. But I feel like it's easier for GG just to avoid Aster, get small pick-offs, and progressing the map without needing that huge team fight. Because Aster, you're gonna pop the egg, you're gonna pop Exo, but you don't have any catch. Like, how you start on a hero is just the Tusk. It's so much on the Tusk, and it's not a core Tusk.
I'm looking at this GG draft here. Afia, what's your read on the situation? What do you think they need to do to be able to shut down Aster and make sure that the Morphling doesn't come fully online for Monet?
They definitely need to make sure the mid lane, they make rotations here, because I think Quinn is not going to have the easiest laning stage against the DP. But if he comes out okay with it in the laning stage, and the Enigma plus Tusk also doesn't run over the Drow, they stabilize and just split push for a while. Like, you know, as Stevie said, they don't have a lot of catch. Their main catch is just going to be a Tusk, position 4. Keep dodging them. You have NP, you have Storm. Play that type of game. Get to your item timings. Play around the global later on. But just, like, don't fight into the overwhelming team fight and just try to minimize your losses in the laning stage.
We're going to find out what's actually going to take place here in this opening game between Team Aster and Gaimin Gladiators as we are about to head into game number 1. The first matchup in the main event, the first game of the upper bracket. And to bring you this hype, we of course had to bring some of the incredible casters. And now our duo, Cap, SVG, game number 1. Take it away, gentlemen. Bring us the hype.
Oh, I don't know if we need to bring you the hype, because honestly, the crowd out here is already bringing enough energy, but we'll do what we can to match them. I'm Cap, this is Avery. We're going to take you through the opening match of the Lima Major. It is Aster, it is Gaimin Gladiators, and it should be a pretty interesting matchup. I think we were excited to be able to see this series going on. Draft was pretty interesting. I mean, they pulled out the XWY Death Prophet.
I don't know where they pulled it out from.
Yeah,
it was hidden in a box under the stage or something. I haven't seen this the entire tournament. It's very off-tempo for him as the mid laner for this team. I mean, you're looking at this draft. Who's initiating for Aster? It's Baboka.
Baboka.
It's all on Baboka
because
they have
baby.
no other jump. So you're putting it all on your 4, which is why the draft panel was talking about it's a bit of an unconventional pick for XWY, because he has generally been playing those jumpers, playing the stunners, starting those fights. Death Prophet does it in her own way, though, right? Now you're looking at him to go in those Roche pit early, force the fights around all this team fight that Aster have. That's where their lineup shines. You need an objective forcer. Different playstyle for him, though, so we'll see if he can handle it. I don't know. RLTK has faith. I have faith. That's all I need.
Yeah, I saw the stack of papers he was rocking inside the booth, and they're setting up. He was ready to go.
Yeah, if your drafter has at least 20 papers, then somebody's going to win.
It's like a 5% buff, at least.
Yeah, it's the paper buff.
The paper buff.
Yeah.
Started by OG with the paper meta.
You know there was nothing on those OG papers. They just did that to psych out everybody else.
Yeah, psych out everybody else.
There was never anything.
They were
just
masters
stacked.
of the psychological game, man.
That's why the next season you saw Bulba go in the booth. He had a full ream, 100 sheets. It's getting escalated here.
All right, well, what about the other side of things? I mean, I think the panel did a very good job of highlighting the strengths of both teams. And for Gaimin Gladiators, Quinn on the mid lane, super important to this team. they chose the Storm Spirit in this matchup. Panel wasn't quite feeling it, especially since the matchup against the Death Prophet. They said it's not super great for Storm Spirit. How do you feel about it?
Definitely not my favorite matchup. I think DP is super favored for most of that early mid game. The silence is debilitating. The lane is super free for Death Prophet. If Storm ever messes up his mana regeneration on the map, you can easily just take mid tower, especially if Storm gets ganked or falls behind in the levels. Again, that might come down to Evoke in this game. How much does he get done on the offlane and can go towards mid versus that Storm? But I was once told by the great Peter Pandam that Quinn is the best Storm Spirit in the world.
Damn, that is.
I don't think Sumail liked that comment, but I don't know how true it was either,
that guy won DAC for them. Huh?
Yeah,
that is so
I mean,
spicy.
Peter said that a lot about other things, but Quinn Storm is it is damn good. It never did anything for me, but it's damn good. You know what I'm saying? And of course, he has Silencer and Tree to back him up. Think about how these team fights are going to go. It's not Storm on an island, right? He's going to jump somebody. You're going to have Global to back him up. You're going to have Living Armor on top of it. Living Armor can maybe help him in the lane stage. And then you have Drow Armor to give him the extra agi.
Sure.
So this is a very high armor.
Oh, you forgot Nature's Wrath. Probably
Nature's
the
Wrath,
best.
I mean, I
the
don't know if
best
that's
follow-up.
helping him, but it's rooting somebody.
I mean,
sure.
it's doing a ton of damage. It's going to be rooting later on.
I agree. Like, this is a draft that can help the Storm engage in those fights and just fight through some of these spells, right?
Yeah.
And if you're looking towards that late game, the Storm gives you the initiation here, but it's a cheap initiation. He doesn't have to commit his whole kit to jump somebody here. They have 3 ranged cores with a 4 silencer. You can take these fights spread out. You can make the Enigma and Phoenix feel pressured to have to use their ults early or in an awkward position, and then they're just getting shot from very far. The Ballista, you wish it was still in the game. You're not going to have it here, but you have your homemade one. I kind of like gaming here, honestly. I feel like these team fights are going to be hard for XXS.
Okay, but I got to stop you right there. What about this support duo?
What,
Tree and
Silencer?
Protector
What's wrong with that?
Silencer?
What's wrong with that?
I mean, you know, it gives me an unsettling feeling in my stomach. My gut is like, ew. That's a duo that has they have overgrowth, but they don't really have like easy stuns to be throwing around.
Yeah, it's Quinn's job.
I mean, it is Quinn's job because Ace, until you get level 20 talent, Sprout is like kind of okay. Drow Ranger is just providing a silence. You already have some silences from Silencer, so I feel like there's a weird overlap there. It's a lot on Quinn, the man on the screen right there.
I think the downfall of these types of support duos, I mean, okay, I will say Gaming have played these types of support duos the entire tournament, though.
Yes.
They've been playing a lot of Disruptor Tree, which I think can be similar, and that the downside is your damage out from the supports can be fairly low, especially in a burst situation. Let's say that XWY gets the BKB in this game, Monet gets the BKB, Scotty, Territory on this Morphling. Your supports are not dealing any damage to them. It's all in the cores. They have a very high tri-core damage lineup, which is why I think this works. But generally, yeah, you do not want to fall behind in the early game with this type of support duo.
I'm not sure how well you guys can hear it here, but the crowd has been super receptive. And honestly, for a day one of LAN, the very first series of the day, too, a lot of people in here.
It's pretty
loud.
A
lot of excitement
Honestly,
going
I don't
on.
think I've ever heard a crowd cheer more for Quinn.
Oh, yeah, they're doing a Quinn chant.
He was the highest cheers of anybody. I don't know what happened. That guy did somebody should study that man's PR for how to turn it around.
Yeah, maybe he hired somebody.
I can tell you, South America was not fans of this guy for a long time. The pub culture did not do him any benefits there.
No. But he's won people over, maybe because of his performances in Gaimin Gladiators, or maybe because he's no longer playing pubs in US East.
That might help, yeah. That's what they're cheering.
They're like,
Quinn is no longer on the server.
He's in Europe now.
Thank God. Thank God.
All right, don't worry, everybody. We are getting the match underway. We see the loading screen going on right now. So we're getting into it here. See the lovely Ace there. That's an interesting guy. As a player,
he's very interesting.
Can you describe him as like what he brings to the offlane?
I was staring at this shirtless guy in the crowd. That took my. What does Ace bring off? I think Ace brings consistency, honestly.
Okay.
I think that's his strongest suit. You look at this guy, he knows what heroes he wants to play. As an opponent, you also know what he wants to play. He's just one of those offlaners that goes there. He's going to be on Tide. He's going to be on one of these team fight stunners, right? The Brood, the Summons heroes. You know what he does. But it seems like he gets away with it every game.
Yeah.
He's very consistent. Rarely does he feed. Rarely does he throw your game. Rarely does he mess up on where he wants to farm and what items he wants to buy. If you look at this gaming lineup, I view him as kind of the rock. He is the consistent factor that's always going to give you that stable output.
Yeah.
Then it means, Quinn and Duracho can go a little crazy. Maybe you have a little bad death here or there, and Ace is going to pick up the slack. I think it's nice to have those kind of guys in your team.
And I think some of that consistency, and maybe consistency as a whole, as a team, comes down to that support too and just their general playstyle. I feel like their playstyle is very much like, we can let them run at us, and we will be able to respond. I mean, when you don't have stunners out of your supports, right, in some ways it is, you're not necessarily always taking the initiation,
Whoa, who
right?
says
You're
Tree's
responding.
not a stunner?
I mean,
Who says that?
He's an ensnarer.
You get this shard. Now you're stunning some people.
Well, that's another ensnare.
It's as good as a stun. I mean, if you look at this Aster lineup, the roots are going to be pretty nice this game, honestly.
Yeah.
These heroes get really debilitated in the fight. You kite them out, BKB goes down, triple range core Drow lineup's going to go to work, right?
Yeah.
Especially if your one save is this Tuskar. Again, I feel like so much weight of this game is on Boca right now. You have to get good saves in the fights off potentially a storm jump later. You have to make sure the initiations go your way. You have to
how
make
do you
sure
get saves but also start the fight at the same time?
There's so much here for this Tusk. And
Yeah.
Tusk is, all right, this is a cheeky play
yeah,
right
this
here.
is interesting.
They're going to split the XP three ways, though.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is great for Ace.
I mean, maybe they wanted Dream Protector to get a faster level 2.
Well, I think the upside of what they're trying to do is they're trying to shove this wave in very fast to Monet.
Yeah.
Morphling, when he loses lane equilibrium, as we have a quick pause here, when Morphling loses lane equilibrium very early in the lane, it feels pretty bad for him. He's not that great at playing super far up until he has later on some mask for health regeneration, or the Linken's build used to go the ring, right?
Sure.
And you can kind of just walk him down the lane and right-click him. This is probably an equilibrium play here from Gaimin. I kind of like it. The downside is you did split that ranged XP to 3 heroes.
Yeah.
Feels a little bad. I mean, Celery feels good about it.
yeah, he certainly does. He's going to show up to his Drow's lane and be like, what up? I got extra experience. And
Also, a little extra XP going the Treant's way in a lane versus Enigma, where he's going to get cut off a little bit.
Yeah,
so maybe
that's true.
Maybe it helps him there. I don't know. It's a very cheeky play.
I mean,
have
I
not
think
seen
level
it
2,
before.
level 3 is so important to Dream Protector's success in the
Yes.
laning phase if he's matched up against a hard lane. And this is one of the harder ones. I'm not sure if Enigma Tusk is stronger than Enigma Tiny, but it's
close.
pretty debilitating.
It's close, yeah. If you get caught off here on the Drow, you are done, especially level 2 or 3 Eidolons. Lane is going to be super strong. Quinn is probably mad about that pause because it messed up his CS, but you know, what can you do?
Already in his head. We did get 3 bounty runs picked up for Gaimin Gladiators, though, so I'm sure he's at least happy with that little bit of extra gold that's going his way, which will help him get that faster bottle, which is needed in this matchup because you can see XWY is already trying to put the pressure on.
Yes, and Quinn's had a rough first wave, so he's going to bleed a lot of regen here. Really needs that bottle to come out ASAP. Still, I'm looking at the side lanes here for Aster. I think Aster need to execute these side lanes pretty well. They cannot give up bad deaths on the cores. You're going to fall too far behind on the map, especially playing versus a Nature's Prophet lineup. These early games are really important versus Hero, because if he snowballs, he starts taking your towers. Basically the ultimate map constrictor in the meta, outside of you're playing a dang strong Naga Siren match. So I would look, again, towards Ace. You want that rock in the game who's going to crumple up the map for Aster here. Give him a good laning phase, and he's going to go off to the races.
Yeah.
This is one of his comfort heroes, too. And this guy used to play carry, so anytime you put a carry in the off lane, they generally like Nature's Prophet.
Yeah. Let's talk about the support duo for Aster, because their opener was the exact same opener. The first 3 heroes was the exact same as their last game in the group stage against Beast Coast. Enigma, Phoenix, go for the Tusk. This Pichu, a.k.a. Siamese Cat, like this Pichu Phoenix,
He's
they
gonna have
just
a
seem
rough
to
one.
be obsessed with like a lot of team fight, but it does cost them their lane.
This is not a fun Phoenix lane.
No.
I would expect this safe lane for Aster to lose hard. Silencer hard counters this hero on lane. You can't really play aggressive with the dive. You just get right-click down, get your int sap. Furion's going to put Treants on you. Your Morph's going to get hit here. It's a very rough safe lane for Aster, and that's where XWY has to make up mid with it.
Yeah, he really does, Quinn.
He's going. One more Crypt Storm?
He's going to go for it. He gets it. XWY with the first blood.
And he just
Quinn
made it
got
look
greedy
easy.
for that double CS, man,
really
and he
did.
pays the ultimate price.
And XWY
Oh
is
no!
not even losing
He got
anything on the lane.
silenced right before the dive away, so that means Pichu's going to die as well. Oh dear.
Just misposition on this Phoenix once, you're going to pay the price. And of course, he does not feed the inch yet. You don't have the glaive up, so at least some saving grace there, but it is a tough lane for him. It's on top of the fact that, I mean, more Phoenix have no synergy on the lane, and you have to give solo XP to this Morphling as much as you can. At the same time, Phoenix is a very XP-intensive support, so you're stuck in this middle ground between I want to leech all your XP, and I don't want to leech too much, and I can't really pull because there's treants and a silencer hitting me. It's a very tough lane for Pichu. He's going to have to hope he can make it up somewhere in that mid game.
Yeah. He can at least get to a situation where if we get the mask on Morphling, he can go ahead and go jungle, and then we can leave the lane over to the Phoenix.
A little bit, yeah. You still have to be worried about Gaimin making any rotation down there, kicking the Morph out, taking the tower. It's good that XWY is off to a start here, because he's going to need the biggest start he can get. Their DP is their only hero, can kind of stop the early aggression, make moves of their own, take early towers, solo kill Quinn, I guess. I guess you don't need the Boboka rotation if XWY can make it happen on his own.
That's true. Put faith in his Death Prophet.
Almost caught me there.
He almost did. He's going to go for it again. Damn, XWY is just giving no relief to Quinn whatsoever. He's level 5. He's got a huge level advantage here.
Yeah, this is massive.
And this is early enough that Quinn's not going to be super happy going jungle, right? Like some Storm Series, you get to level 5. Okay, I'm going to AFK jungle until I get 6 so I can safely do it without dying. But this early, that would slow down Storm Series a lot.
No, Quinn does not like jungling anyway. Typically, you want this guy to be in the lane because lane dominance is one of his greatest strengths.
That's true.
He knows all these 1v1 matchups. Remember, they picked the Storm into DP. Quinn does know this matchup, and he's not doing too bad in terms of net worth CS.
Yeah.
That first blood obviously inflates it a lot, but he's doing okay. As long as he doesn't die again, I think Quinn will be overall a little happy with this outcome. I mean, he's not going to be happy because he died, but that's a Quinn thing. The biggest thing here is you don't want to give up another kill when DP 6 and Storm is 5, and now you take a bunch of damage on your tower.
Yeah.
And that is something Boboka can look towards because you already have 6 on XWY here. Of course, Ace is sitting at the top of the chart. This is a very nice matchup for Furion. You can sit here, out CS Morphling with the extra treant damage. Not a lot of offlaners can offer you this type of lane pressure versus a hero with, in theory, infinite regen.
14 denies. That's pretty rough. He's actually almost keeping up with the Enigma, but they do manage to get a kill. That'll help Monet out a lot when it comes to the experience department.
That's super nice. Not to mention, Pichu gets a little bit extra, right?
Yeah.
Any XP on this Phoenix lane is to die for. And now Boboka pushing towards that mid-rotation. Storm's still level 5 here. You have Exorcism. You have Catapult.
They have Catapult. It's time to pressure. And who of Gaimin Gladiators is going to come over and help him out? Looks like Tofu, off that death, is going to show up, refill the bottle. Just his presence could do a lot here to stop this.
They want 6-minute rune. There's
Exo. Yeah, they're challenging already. They're going to push him back, and they do manage to get the block in with the shard onto Tofu. And they've got Pichu here as well to be able to join in, so Tofu's going to be run down pretty easily. And even better, the 6-minute rune, that power rune spawned bottom. So XWY just, get this kill, get this power rune, back to hitting the tower.
Maybe the one upside here is it's not Quinn dying. You get someone else to tank that for you. And the Catapult dies in the meantime, so that'll give him the level 6 here. Now he's eliminated the threat. Of course, you are going to get half tier 1 damage here. It's not that bad for your first Exorcism. And again, you're getting a little extra XP on supports. Your side lanes get solo XP. This is what Aster kind of won here, as long as nothing is getting fed away. Decent value out of the rotation. Not some chain feed they were hoping for on Quinn, but
sure,
can only ask for so much.
And you're going to lose some of those opportunities with Nature's Prophet getting level 6, because now, any aggressive move could be met with the Nature's Wrath teleport, which is going to be scary. But if they can get a kill on Tarachio, that'd be super nice. But he already got up the Gust, so he just pushes away the Tusk and heads back to the jungle.
That is the X factor you have to consider on these aggressive moves by Boboka. You have this Furion that can come in. You have Silencer who's going to have some counter initiation. Tree can armor somebody. These dives are going to be difficult. You can't overextend. You can't overextend on these tower pushes, especially when you commit the Death Prophet to them. You have to be careful and you have to play it smart, or else Ace is going to punish you very hard. He doesn't even have to come to the fight necessarily. You can be killing your bottom tier 1, just ult. Maybe it wins you the fight.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the MOs of Nature's Prophets right now aren't actually using that teleport. They're like, I'll do Nature's Wrath, but I'm going to split push for the most part. Tarachio pushing back the Enigma. XXS is going to be able to catch up to him, hit him with the Malphus, but they have lead seed and they have multiple TPs coming in. So Boboka is definitely going to die for this one. He falls. Tarachio stays alive, but they've moved all of their heroes up here.
I guess you baited out those ults. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. Quinn
rune
goes back in. Hoping for the power rune, uses all of his mana. He's going to make a run for it. It's an illusion rune that'll help him get rid of the fire spirits as well. and start battling up. A slowdown from Tofu with that curse, and Quinn's just going to be perfectly fine.
Not the worst outcome to get that first Wrath of Nature out and you get the double TP. Again, you have to be very careful on these overcommittals for Aster. And now you get space somewhere else, which is bottom. Baboka with the fast TP. Gonna secure this ace kill. Yeah, this is huge. Now your Morphling's in a very good position, right? He did not go Mask. He did not go any region item. He's going Falcon Blade, and he's been able to stay on this lane. Not to mention you're killing a level 6.5 hero.
Why not go the Mask and why the Falcon? What's the concept behind going Falcon Blade then?
I mean, Falcon Blade's the meta. Don't question the meta, Cap.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I cannot really
Honestly,
disrespect
I haven't
that.
seen a lot of these morphs going early ringer Mask. Seems like just the extra regen from the tower, flag bearers, give it a couple tangos from the support is enough.
Yeah, those 5 positions just feeding you tangos nonstop.
Yeah, so if you get away with this build, it is more efficient.
Sure.
And he's been getting away with it.
Well,
Maybe it also speaks to how much Tofu is brought up the lane too, right?
Sure.
Let's say Silencer can just stay down there and pressure this morph with Ace. Maybe you're going to force a bit more regen out of Monet, but Tofu had to TP mid and tank the gank for Quinn. He had the TP top, secured that, then he got stuck in a mid rune fight skirmish. Silencer's been active, and now you're going to have to give him mid XP so he can get to his ult. As you were saying, this support duo for Gaimin Gladiators a little clunky, which means you're going to have to prioritize their levels at some point. It's going to happen now. The downside is you're giving some breathing room to Aster, where early game was perhaps their slowest point, and now XWI.
Breathing room for Aster, but they're going to look to choke out Aces. They will manage to get the snowball on him. Celery's going to show up. Can they get anything out of this? Celery hiding away in the trees. Tofu's here as well. From a distance, they can get a decent amount of damage on Bulbaka and maybe get this kill inside of the tower range. Look at XWI. He tanked it for Bulbaka to allow Bulbaka to cut over the side and TP out. Now they go back in. Nice team play from Aster there to ensure no losses.
Juggle that aggro.
Invis rune from Quinn, though, could do a lot, so it's good that XWI didn't get too greedy. Backs away, doesn't try and use the exorcism to its full extent, heads back to mid.
Now you get some counterplay if you're gaming, though. Again, that's Exo down, you don't get a tower. Time to perhaps be aggressive here with the next Furion ult. You have Quinn lurking around, looking for something. Generally, you want to get at least a couple kills in this first 10 to 50 minutes with Storm so he gets some extra XP on the map. Especially if he has to give up mid to a Silencer.
That was a close call. Quinn could have grabbed him mid-dive, and that would be a dead Pichu, but okay for now. But they got to deal with mid.
I feel like Aster's playing this early game pretty clean.
Yeah.
Again, this is a pretty slow early game lineup, so as long as you're not feeding away too many kills, you're getting the levels on your heroes. XWI can keep powering through. I mean, they're just taking mid without Exo here.
Yeah, what's going on? Gaimin Gladiators, I thought surely they would fight for this.
I think they could have. They have level 8 Drow can come to that fight too. They have living armor. Silencer globals up. Storm with full resources and Wrath off cooldown. Is that not the fight you want to take here if you're gaming?
Apparently not. Gaimin Gladiators would rather trade. And I guess, you know, if you're just content with trying to chill out, farm, and hit that Aghanim Scepter timing on the Nature's Prophet, that'll be a little bit better. But we're going to see Aster keep up that pace. They still haven't had to use the egg, so it's still a tool to be used. XWI will help XXS. Just his presence here will help the Eidolons take the tower. The living armor is just really not benefiting at all. Gaimin Gladiators, they're maybe slowing it down a bit, but if the tower still dies before 15 minutes,
yeah, and this is max living armor. I don't like to give up these tier 1s without a single fight. I think that's where Treant shines, too.
Yeah.
You bait the overextension from Aster, you get a good overgrowth into Wrath and a global before any of these Dispels or BKBs are out. These are the fights I think gaming should be happy to take. It's also the way you can get Storm accelerated in this game because Quinn is sitting down there and he's not going to have a huge amount of space on this map, especially the way this team operates. Their side laners are very farm heavy. If he's not involved in the skirmishes or the fights, it's easy for Quinn to fall behind on a hero like Storm, who doesn't naturally shove the waves out like a Shrek or a Pango will, which is generally what he's been playing.
Normally, when I think that teams are being a little bit scared to fight, I think it's a sign of nerves, right? I mean, we're here on land right now. There's a big crowd. They've had to wait a while to be able to get the tech issues solved. Maybe it's just the fact that Gaimin Gladiators, a little bit nervous, don't necessarily want to take a team fight that, you know, could just blow up in the game for Aster if it goes wrong.
It's definitely true, but this team fight for Aster only gets stronger. You're talking about silence or tree. Another downside is the dispels, the spell immunity, makes this support duo a lot weaker. And you're going to have a Greaves on Enigma. You're going to eventually get to some dispel item on XWY. He's opting just for BKB Rush here. Pretty interesting. I kind of like it. There's not a lot that's going to punch through this. If he just gets BKB into an armor item, especially, BKB Shiva's Death Prophet this game is a menace.
Yeah. Global Silence going to be used because Quinn ran up into the high ground there, but did they chain the silence? I think that was not a whole lot of silence there. Meanwhile, they're fighting up in the top lane, and Ace is going to show up for this. XXS blocked in after the Midnight Pulse, but they're going to start backing away from XWY, is going to be slowed down by Celery. Dorachi does manage to finish off Bulbaca, so we're going to have a trade-off of supports here. With the Exorcism used, I feel like in some ways that was really great for Gaimin Gladiators because they already lost that tower. So what's that Exorcism going to do?
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they lost that tower before they had to take that fight.
True, true.
Still, they get out of there with minimal casualties. However, you do have Global down. You have that Tree ult down. At least Ag's up for Ace means this Wrath of Nature is on that 60-second cooldown. That's where this hero shines. That's why he's been picked so much.
Yeah.
Monet getting involved, pretty nice for Aster here. He's going to get some extra golden XP on this Warflame, who is, again, just going Manta first. So you are going to have triple Dispel first items here for Aster. It's going to help them take these early fights a lot. And the big question for them is, when do you do this Roshan? Is level 2 Exo plus the triple Dispel enough to force it? This is what this lineup's designed to do.
Yeah.
You don't want to get split on the map too much here if you're Aster, because the second one of you gets picked off by this Furion Storm combo, you're going to lose a lot of space.
Dispel is insanely valued to this game. Multiple silences, multiple ensnares.
You want as many as you can get.
Yeah.
And
nice
now
little ancient stack going on here, though.
Yeah, but look who's taking it. It's Quinn, right?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been able to find anything else in this game.
So he kind of needs to keep his farm going. If he had found kills, you're saying this would have been the Drow Rangers farm, right?
Yeah, you'd rather have Quinn killing heroes than ancients.
Sure. He's going to try and complete his Witchblade off of this ancient stack. So maybe they'll feel like that damage will put them over the line. Meanwhile, Dorachi and Celery, really interesting that they still hang out here without a tower. I can't help but feeling like part of that is Nature's Prophet. Being this far forward without having a tower to TP to is super dangerous for a carry. But if you have a global hero like Nature's Prophet, and if Celery can just run interference, then maybe it's really good.
I mean, they have two global heroes. He already has a Hurricane Pike. And again, going back to this Aster draft, normally it'd be scary, but who is catching him? It's Tusk with a shard. That's
true.
it. There is no other jump or stun in this game. So you have a Hurricane Pike, you're invincible. He's a god.
Tofu is far from invincible, but the Tumbler Stoic gets him over the shard. Now that's just baited in Bulbaca. Silence goes out, but they don't need any spells to finish off Bulbaca. Beautiful bait from Tofu. Gets off the Tumbler Stoic just in time after the damage was taken.
Maybe Bulbaca just getting a little too anxious in this game. Has to recognize they have to get to these big items on their cores before they're going to take the head-on fight.
Yeah.
The skirmish is a bit difficult, and now Gaimin maybe recognizing what I was looking at, which is I think they're pretty strong right now. This is when you want to fight with your spells before those first round of items come out for Aster and get Quinn involved more than just the Ancient stack. Pretty good ward. Free jump.
Pichu had just de-warded that. He threw the Fire Spirits over there. He does manage to get off the egg, though. They're going to turn around and kill it. That's not a problem. But Monet is going to try and take advantage of this by turning it into Charge Rate, but now he's locked in and he gets blown up. Where was the backup for Monet? He fought for his support's life, but nobody else was willing to. XXS seemed to be a little bit too far away, and XWY, well, he was leagues away. Awkward fight there. Feel bad for Pichu, who used the Fire Spirits to get vision on the high ground. He dropped a sentry on the low ground. Fire Spirits would give you temporary vision for the high ground, so he checked that cliff, but then immediately afterwards, Gaimin Gladiators dropped the wards. If he did that like a second later, maybe he sees a ward and he goes, oh, time to leave.
Yeah, maybe you get the earlier dive out, and then that fight looks very different. Still, we're going to see the power of this global be really annoying for these heroes in the committal team fight. Sure, you wait for him in, and now you're just stuck. Stuck not even in Morph. You're stuck in another hero's body.
And Manta going to be even more delayed, so these silences and ensnares are even more powerful. And Gaimin Gladiators, top 3 heroes in that network chart.
And I think Gaimin's pretty happy scaling in the foreseeable future. Maybe 60, 70 minutes with refreshers on this black hole and stuff, it becomes a little annoying. But honestly, I think these drought lineups are very tough for Enigma to fight into. You just get outranged. You're not offering much in terms of spell capability. You're not going some early blink BKB, and you're not going to hit a big black hole even if you do. You're just kind of waddling in here with this Aster lineup, and you're letting Gaimin get to these big damage items on all three of their cores.
And now they're actually evening out the tower advantage. As this mid tower looks to be falling, Aster are not going to fight for it.
I think XWY had a good early game here. He definitely created some pressure, but you haven't been able to capitalize on it.
No.
You're still stuck behind your tier 2 at 15, at 18, going 20 here. And where is the catch? Are you doing anything to this Hurricane Pike Drow? Doing anything to this tanky Furion who's going to have the Agi from the Drow aura with living armor on top? Remember, there's a lot of buffs for this Gaimin Gladiators lineup. You have to commit in to deal with the buffs. And
not having catch, the enemy team having better late game, and them having global split push pressure off of Nature's Prophet, this is beginning to feel like they just don't have a solution. I feel like that is a puzzle that can only be solved by winning the early game and snowballing, right? And getting early Roshans and you know, like stacking that, but because they're not ahead, they can't take Roshan confidently.
Roshan helping you scale into the late game where you have the catch is the answer for Aster. And this is, there's no other play here. You have to force it with the level 2 EXO and BKB on your Death Prophet. She's not going to have a stronger timing for the next 10 minutes here until the second item, which is going to be super slow if you don't get this.
Which is a huge opportunity for Gaimin Gladiators if they take this fight, and it's good. It's going to be a disaster for Aster. They get the initiation on a Bulbacup, but at the same time, Stormseer in some trouble. He gets off the attack, but he dies instead. The XWY with the BKB timing pushes back Gaimin Gladiators. A jump forward from Monet is going to be able to catch Celery as well. And oh no, 3 of them stacked up, and XWY is feasting on some heroes. Gets pushed away by the Gus. That Spirit Siphon is going to be able to break. Hurricane Pike pushes him away. XWY has got to be careful of that damage. A lot of Frostbite, but he lives. They don't get Roshan, but they do get a good engagement out of it.
I don't know if that's good enough, though. Sure, you get the Storm kill, but the lead just increased there for Gaimin.
Did it really?
Because this Furion just farms waves while this fight's happening, and you're not getting Roshan, and now Exo's on cooldown. What stops Gaimin from just taking the pit? No black hole? Or you have black hole, but no Exo, no egg? Monet has no ult as well. That was him joining the fight, getting a Storm pull off there to try and kill the Treant.
Yeah.
You're lucky you catch Quinn there with a Malefice into silence. Otherwise, that fight doesn't even necessarily go as well as it did for you. I would not be surprised to see Gaimin make an aggressive move here, try and just take Roshan for themselves. They can even scout the triangle with Treants. And yeah, here it is. Jump anything here if you're Quinn.
Taking Roshan themselves, that would be a huge game-winning move, but it does come with certain risks, right? I mean
it's only the black hole, though.
Ultimates, but I mean, even just taking Roshan is maybe a little dangerous, but they're going to try for it. Shard is going to be disruptive. Fire Spirits are going to be annoying. Maybe they have
it's
to
too
give
annoying. Still, I think Gaimin would have been really happy if Aster took that bait.
Oh, yeah.
They want the fight more than Roshan here. I don't think they care about the Aegis. I mean, Aegis on Quinn is super nice, but if they ever get a fight where Aster don't have their big ults, that's when they're super happy.
Yeah.
Because you're not winning that. We see the power of this Drow. There's just no gap close. You're going to need a lot more items on your Enigma, a lot more on DP. There's one gap close, so Blink for XXS is coming in and perhaps at a very timely point because Gaimin are smoking on you. You're going to need a big black hole at some point in this game.
If this was to break on like XWY, who I think is maybe tanky enough to survive, XXS could be set up for a dream black hole.
That is the dream. Have him tank it, see everybody, use this DP BKB. They don't really have another natural frontliner in this game until Monet is super strong. Gaimin don't find anything, don't want to overextend into the high ground triangle, and again, they will force the Roshan. It's dying very fast here. You got to scout this.
They're smoked up on Aster, they know, but they're not going to be able to get there in time. And now the Aegis is picked up by the Stormseer, and he's going to zip in. Quinn immediately getting the initiation on Bulbaca once again. Going to drag him into the mid. Bulbaca is stuck, he's caught. Aster are going to start retreating, but Pichu can't get out because of that silence from Tofu. A little bit more XWY, going to pop the Exorcism.
This is not the fight, though.
No, it's not.
Already 2 dead. Global seals Baboka's fate. And Quinn just gets the free follow-up. Of course, he can play really aggressive now because he has that Aegis. You want to commit ults for this Storm? Sure, I'll take the fight afterwards. And now, Aegis to Storm Spirit in this game, absolutely deadly. Sure, he's low on the net worth chart, but it doesn't matter if he can just jump into your ults and bait all the spells out. And this is why I said that earlier Roshan go from Aster was not good enough, not even close.
Yeah. I see what you're talking about now. Rough team fight. An Arcane Rune found for Quinn with an Aegis.
Oh, come on,
I
man.
mean, I don't think they necessarily need to be, taking fights right now, but you are heavily incentivized to do so. You are extremely powerful on Quinn.
Honestly, we had those 40,000 accounts banned for cheating.
Yeah.
I was surprised I didn't see Quinn in those, because this guy...
for spotting runes to his advantage.
Yeah, this guy's got a rune hack going,
Yeah.
I swear.
The funniest thing is he's probably the one who complains the most about runes. Nice silence timing there from XWY.
You know why he complains? When he has normal rune luck, that's when he complains. In the rest
I
of
only
our
got
world,
50% of the runes.
yeah, I only got 4 double damages instead of 10.
Pichu stuck here without an Anchor's dive, so
Mistake.
Quinn commits and gets the egg out of him. Really nicely played. Nice shard, though, from Bobica. I don't know if they feel good about chasing after him, though.
How do you
Definitely
take these
not.
fights if you're Aster? You can't black hole anything. There's global and overgrowth. Duracchio's just running up and poking you here, saying, what are you going to do about it? I don't even have the Aegis. You're not going to be able to play the map versus Storm and Furion. The pickoff can be really high. You can even get Blink or Shard on Celery here and help your pickoff even more, which he's going Blink. It'll help the team fight, some extra catch.
You're talking about the Drow Ranger synergy
Tough.
with this lineup. Drow Ranger Furion, I think is super scary when you get Furion to BKB. Because then you got this guy who is magic immune and he's getting the extra armor when he already has the same stats. Quinn trying to jump in after that.
These are all just free, though, right?
Aggression, but it is.
It's
yeah.
so free for gaming here. They don't even have to hit anything. You're still corralling Aster on the map. Ace is always going to farm your side of the map or the other lane, so you never fall behind economically. And yeah, you were talking about that BKB on Furion. He has it. So he has BKB, he's spell immune, he gets the Drow Agi armor. Man, this Ace... Can't ask for anything more on this Storm Spirit. Putting them hacks to good...
Dire are scanning.
Snowball going out the shard, looking to be able to catch somebody. Still Duracchio, he's perfectly healthy. XWY tries to run after him, but he goes back to the rest of his team, but now he's going to be caught. Oh, Zeller, great positioning, and XWY from a distance is going to get blown apart. The Nature's Prophet Drow Ranger is not to be trifled with. You either all in commit, or you get the hell out of there.
Can't
They
play
went
these
for
fights.
a 50-50, and it was terrible.
You cannot go halfway, as you said. And again, are we going to see a black hole this game? Is it possible? You may as well black hole something at this point. You don't have to use global in these fights if you're gaming. XXS has no game here, and this is how you punish Enigma. Make the black hole hard to use. Sure, he has an okay lane. He didn't even win it, though. 3 range scores can always split the fight. Storm's in the back. Ace is jumping somebody else off a route. Duracchio's the front line somehow, and you can't even go on him still. Again, the lack of catch here for this Aster lineup really hurting them in these engagements, and their team fight just can't get put to work.
Thought he was going to jump Pichu there, instead goes for Monet. Not even necessarily, oh, we need this kill or anything like that. Just, take him out. Make sure he doesn't get a chance to push out that bottom lane.
Queen can jump whatever he wants.
Yeah.
There is no punish. He didn't even go BKB in this game on Storm.
No, he went Sanj Kaya, right?
Yeah, so he's just going for extra status resist into Hex here. He feels like the extra BKB scale is going to be picked up by his 2 other cores anyway. And yeah, the camp stack, the economy. There's a reason gaming has a net worth lead at this point. It shows. And the way back is not very clear.
No.
You got to get Monet on top of Duracchio and kill him through Treant armor? Through a global?
Sounds unlikely.
I wish you the best.
And all that time, take that much time to kill 1 core. Nature's Prophet and Storm Spirit are still doing plenty of damage as well. So,
I mean, XWY went Witchblade. This is... Honestly, I don't think you can afford to go Witchblade in this game. I think you need Blink Shiva's minimum before the fights even start to resemble something in your favor.
yeah, you're going to try and outrange.
You're not outright clicking anybody here.
Nature's
I
Prophet?
promise you, you are not outright clicking anybody. Maybe the one rationale here is he feels like the armor is just way too high for Gaimin. How are you ever killing any of these heroes when they all have 40 armor? I agree with that sentiment. You know, in a very far away world, if you get the brooch, it's pretty decent value. But I don't know if you're getting there. I don't know if you're ever getting there on XWY. Bloodthorn, I mean, I don't know. This Witchblade just seems way too greedy, and I don't think it's going to pay off in time. I don't think you're going to get to the late game here if you're Aster. You're getting kited.
I mean, at this point in time, late game is kind of their only hope, right?
Sure, but at this point, they're going to get to late game and be 40,000 gold behind.
Sure.
And by that, I mean in another 15 minutes here.
Blink Dagger soon for Celery. That's going to be a huge pickup. Meanwhile, items are just missing for Aster. Still trying to get a Scotty on Morphling. Doesn't compare.
There's a lot missing. The problem is you can buy survivability on Aster, but it's not winning you this game. Staying alive is not good enough. Gaimin do not have big committal spells. It's not as if you wear down their ults, you're happy to take the fight. It's the right click that's going to slay you here. This is a Drow lineup. Have to be able to match them toe for toe at some point.
Well, looks like their game plan is to wait Gaimin Gladiators making a mistake on high ground, or try and smoke out and contest Roshan. Gaimin Gladiators, of course, very relaxing game for them. They're just hanging out, farming, and then eventually they're going to be able to take that second Roshan.
I mean, they're smoking the triangle across map to try and close out that area. Aster isn't even there.
No.
They already closed it out. They don't know, of course, but there's no one to find on this map. So here's the desperation 5-man smoke. If this fails, you probably looking at game 2. You got to find a good core kill here into some semblance of map control.
He tried to go up to that top tower.
Of course, but Quinn has another arcane rune. Though that said, this game he has had full rune control, right? So he's eventually going to get something good. I'll still make fun of him for it, though.
Well, that's your right.
I mean, the only cooldown that this arcane rune might be helping at this point is that game clock. This game could end in the next 5 minutes here. Especially if you take a fight into a high ground ward here.
Check the high ground. They see the ward. Bulbaca's already been caught, though. Quinn has just been making sure Bulbaca has no game. Their initiation is gone. So now XWY, well, he's going to be caught as well. Caught inside the Sprouts. Immediately overgrowth after the BKB, which is perfect. XWY is going to try and Spirit Siphon and heal himself. Over to the side, they do have the Supernova. Durachio going to go for the dieback death onto Bulbaca and then try and kill the egg. A little bit too much for that, but who cares if the egg explodes? Quinn's going to be able to catch him before he dives away.
Just too easy. Honestly, these goes are, they feel casual almost.
Oh yeah, and it was a very fast Roshan. So with the dieback, let's just go ahead and take Roshan, shall we? 30 seconds left on the Aster supports.
Storm jumps, he pulls somebody, Drow kills him. Storm doesn't even have to commit. There's no counter initiation here that can come out. What's the counterplay to this? You have to jump them, right? Again, you don't have the blink on Death Prophet. Monet finally finishes Scotty here. Starting to get some damage on this Morphling. Still, it's all physical, and you're doing physical into an insanely high armor lineup that now has another Aegis.
They got all their
Shard
20
as well.
talents coming in, the multi-shot damage, the Sprout Leash.
It is just an impossible fight. You're going to have to hope for the high ground throw.
Hey, sorry to ask you this, you know, in the playoffs and everything. Do you know how Overload Shard works with Drow Ranger's multi-shot?
It should not proc it.
You don't
That's what
think
you're
so?
asking. No, I don't think so.
If it did?
If it procs it, it's only going to proc it once.
Yeah.
There's no way it's working on the multi-shot hit.
I'm just more so saying this multi-shot is already like almost killing you add in just a little bit of extra damage on top of that, it's going to be terrible.
They give the Aegis to Durachio this time.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's going to hit high ground, right?
Yeah, that's your siege mechanism. Makes Quinn's life a little harder since he didn't go the BKB, but again, he doesn't have to commit on any of the jumps. He can just ult Hex, ult pull, run away instantly, has another arcane rune.
Bulbaca is so poor. Eggs Tuskags might be able to, you know, help you hold this high ground against an insurmountable lead, basically. But they do smoke out, catch Celery, but they don't kill him, and the overgrowth goes down. They get the black hole onto the Supernova, immediately denied by the global silence. But the Supernova does survive as a result, and XWY sticking on to Duraccio. Duraccio pushes them away, though, and XWY couldn't commit. He was pushed too far away, and Quinn recommits back in. Duraccio's going to help them run down, and that is it. An absolute stomp for Gaimin Gladiators over Aster in this game one. There was no question who showed up to this first game. The better team.
Just a draft victory, honestly.
Yeah.
I would take their draft 9 times out of 10. I don't think you can play this game as Aster. You're not winning lanes.
No.
The first Roshan gets foiled. At that point, the game is just over, I think. If you don't win that first Roshan fight with level 2 XO BKB Death Prophet, what's your game plan here? You can't play the map. You can't win the team fights. You don't have initiation. You can't punish anything Ace is doing in his Ancients on the side lanes, let alone get on top of this Drow. Drow buys 1 Hurricane Pike. Your whole catch is gone. This isn't even a Dota game at that point.
So, super one-sided game, but draft focused. I mean, I still think that Aster played a little timid for my liking. I felt like there were so many times where it was just like, guys, you gotta go. You just gotta go. But either way, draft is a huge problem for them. Maybe RTK needs to print out some more papers.
Yeah, you need another couple inches of 8x11 there.
Yeah, we could all use
more notes going.
We could all use a few more of those.
You say they're playing timid. Honestly, what is Baboka supposed to do in this game? Just run up and shard somebody into DP silence? You have to play this game ultra manly. I think you definitely have to go second item blink on Death Prophet and just blink on him and hope something magical happens. I don't see another route in this game. A great black hole at the end by XXS, but again, by that point, you don't have to use global on anything else in this game. You have overgrowth even if you do. There's just no punish here. I think you really have to think about this Enigma Furion matchup as well. Teams are very happy playing Furion in this Enigma, and this is one of the reasons why. You play the map, you split him up, his spells become very hard to use. If you don't have other heroes that can make up for it, which Aster didn't, you're just getting out-farmed at every fight. I mean, Aster went in the pit, did half of Roshan, got 2 kills on left, and they lost 1,000 gold off that fight. Because Wrath of Nature cleared 3 waves.
That was really bad for sure. And I think maybe we have a reason why Aster haven't been picking up that mid-death profit for XWY, or at least maybe a reason why perhaps the item build wasn't up to par or something. They just haven't picked it since Chinese DPC.
Witchblade was not the item. That said, I don't think there's any item he buys. I mean, that man could have found a divine rapier off a shovel. I don't think it would have changed this game. I don't think anything about that game is changing. Yeah. So, items aside, I don't agree with the Witchblade, but nothing would have helped him there. And yeah, it looked a little uncomfortable. There's not a lot of playmaking. There's not a lot of laning to get ahead, so the playmaking isn't necessary. At this point, I'm being redundant, but just an outdraft. Too relying on this Enigma is just going to be powerful because it's powerful. I mean, what did Enigma do for you in this game?
All right. Well, that was game one. Gaimin Gladiators showing why they were top of their group with a pretty strong showing. But we're going to go ahead and head into game two here in just a bit. We'll be right back.
first game of the Lima Major here at main event goes the way of Gaimin Gladiators against Aster. It's of course a best of 3. We'll see if Aster can make a comeback, and we'll head into that third game. But before the second game, we're first going to break things down and tell you our opinion of why things that happened as they did. I'm joined by Jenkins, Sheep, and Purge, and I want to take it back because of course Gaimin Gladiators won the game, and they were very strong, especially towards the end, but it didn't. Aster definitely had a good showing. It didn't always look like Gaimin Gladiators was going to have that massive lead towards the end, right, Sheep?
Yeah, they did a really good job early. Not only did XWY run a clinic on Quinn in the mid lane, got that first blood, was pressuring his tower, but Baboka on his Tusk was fantastic. Every tag team cooldown, he was running at Drow top. When he managed to force TPs there, he then swung to the bot lane, killed Ace there. I think he had a very active and very clean early game, and they managed to take that top tower, managed to take that mid tower, and were just really controlling the first 10 minutes-ish.
Yeah, it really made the Gaimin Gladiators lineup look like it was bad. I was just like, man, they're just getting smashed in every single lane. And then they hit that like mid-game timing where they started pairing 2 of their heroes together. You know, they get some pickoffs here and there. And then like in their late-game timing, it's like, oh, they have 3 ranged heroes that love right-clicking, and they have a Drow Ranger. They do so much damage.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing with the early game, though, is like, it looked to me like a Treant game. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yes, they were doing a good job on Aster, running at them, and yes, they were pressing their ults, tag teaming off cooldown, whatever. People were getting armored. Global Silence was coming out. They weren't. If there wasn't a Treant in that game, then those fights go much more horribly for Gaimin, and then probably off of some of those fights, they actually get a tower. So to me, it looked like, oh no, they're not like obliterating a tree early, so therefore like Gaimin's going to protect the towers and then get to that late game that Purge was talking about.
They also used wards really nicely for that too. Like they had at least 2 wards in their own jungle on like high ground cliffs and on the ground, just like protecting the area really hard and not allowing Aster to be as aggressive as they hoped to be.
Now there was, I think a lot of people might remember, we've brought it up on the panel several times, that in an Arteezy interview, he was talking about scrimming Western European teams and being impressed with their new and improved lane tech, and we've been ever since trying to figure out what this lane tech was. And we did see Gaimin Gladiators before the lanes even hit each other for the first time. We saw them take out a range creep, Jenkins. Was that the new lane tech Arteezy was telling us about?
So I think you can go farther than that. Like the reason that I really liked that from them was because whenever you're laning against a Morphling, this hero's like completely useless at level 1, other than the fact that he has like really big damage. So the ideal state for him is that he gets like 2 or 3 waves in front of the tower and he just denies like 3 range creeps and then gets the level advantage that way. Because Nature's Prophet, like the way he would get range creeps is sending his treants on it. You can't do that if the range creep is like basically in the tower, right? So they kill it before the lane starts. They shove the creep wave into the tower, it bounces back, and all of a sudden Morphling is like barely level 2, and then the lane is directly in front of their tower. The way that you can extend that lane tech even farther, which is a little riskier, is you do the same thing, but instead of killing the range creep, you block the creep wave with 3 heroes. So that's the important thing to me, is that they brought Celery there to do that as well, because there's only going to be 2 enemy heroes there, but sometimes the enemy dual lane is actually stronger than yours, and you can't do that. Even killing the range creep, you'll like trade too poorly in doing that. So yeah, this is something they've clearly practiced, and it worked out because Ace was monstrous that game.
Yeah, it definitely had the right impact on the game.
It did, and you saw them get that kill on Phoenix in the lane pretty soon after the first blood happened because they were getting their levels faster. You're playing into a silencer. I think this Phoenix is something that Aster have a massive comfort in, but they've ended up drafting Enigma and Phoenix both into it and really struggled as a result.
Yeah.
I think like Phoenix as well felt huge pressure every single fight from Quinn on his Storm Spirit. He always went in and made them use the egg, so their egg was never used like favorably on top of this black hole.
Yeah, that's actually a really vulnerable thing about both Enigma and Phoenix, is that you are not very good at like fake jumps, basically, because you basically want to say, okay, they're jumping this guy, I sunner him, or they're jumping me, I'm looking for the right black hole. But against Storm, who can jump in and out like that and play with his food a little bit, especially when he gets Arcane Runes, it's just so much harder to play Dota if they can run at you against those heroes. So maybe Gaimin figured out what they need to do.
Now, it was Aster favored for a little bit in that game for sure. The biggest turning point, as very frequent, is of course a Roshan fight. And I want to talk about the Roshan fight because the first Roshan fight, actually, if you look at it completely objectively, is like, wow, Aster got 2 kills. And, you know, they weren't able to finish the Roshan off the back of that fight, but number-wise, they won. Explain to me why that wasn't the case.
I mean, it's because their heroes are like okay at taking Roche, like Tusk Morph, sure, but they had used the DP ult for that fight, and Gaimin, like that to me was just an extension of the early game, where Gaimin's ability to like disengage was just so powerful. Like Treant Silencer, you cannot tell me like two better heroes at like disengaging team fights. So like it felt like Aster had to commit, but they're like playing into two supports that's literally the exact thing that they want you to do. So the moment they run up some high ground, it's like, okay, do we chase here? Do we not chase? Like our DP ulti is down. It's a tough question.
Yeah, their egg was down as well. And we heard our commentators say it as well that while that fight was happening, I believe Ace was still farming on the map, so even though Aster kind of won the fight, they still lost gold overall.
They have the lane pressure, exactly. Aster's like this full 5-man lineup against a silencer. Like, it's just so hard. They had to hit the silencer and the tree in one black hole in order to win a fight at some point, and that's never going to happen.
No, and this, of course, this is where well, Gaimin Gladiators kind of started off their aggression after the laning stage. We had quite a nice amount of jumps coming in from Quinn, and this is the fight that we talked about, because at this point, I thought, okay, Gaimin Gladiators is making a comeback. Or sorry, Aster is making a comeback, but yeah.
Draw2 did so good on Drow this game, in my opinion. Like, he really felt like a high damage dealer. Not the typical Drow where it's like, I'm playing the whole team fight to just not get killed instantly.
Yeah. No, he was in there. He was in there for sure.
He did great. This Roche as well was so nice because Gaimin were super on top of it. They realized Aster was in the pit. They scouted it with Trance while simultaneously smoking and were ready to contest. Meanwhile, when Gaimin then walked into the pit on the next fight, Aster were way too slow. They smoked up to contest, but they were just not there in time. So I think Gaimin just had their finger on the pulse of this game way better than Aster did.
Yeah, they played like a little too scared in a way, and I think a lot of that goes back to the draft.
Like you're playing Enigma, and all of these like very heavily committal heroes. Like even Tusk, like he snowballs, he gets in there, right?
Yeah.
Against Silencer Tree, and then Storm who can get out, Nature's who can TP out, Drachu was like the only guy that could have died there, but as Purge was saying, like, he just had a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
Was there any chance at this stage of the game that we're watching right here, was there any chance for Aster to still have a good comeback? Because they definitely keep trying.
There's the global. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
He gets the tree, and then there's the other guy that's out that's going to instant cancel the black hole.
Yeah. They tried to do some nice moves on Aster. Like, for example, they went, when they were kind of locked in their base a bit, they sent their Morphling top to try and bait off him while smoking behind. But Gaimin, so smart, so good. They scanned behind the Morphling to find out that there were Aster heroes there, so they knew. And that way, they were able to just hold their high ground cliff ward. You know, Aster sees nothing. They're not actually sure where Gaimin even are because they're just not showing or not reacting. And then when they push up onto their triangle, bam, Gaimin just super punish it, kill them, easy game, easy life.
Just like that, simple. This break is being used by the teams to, of course, go back to the drawing board and reset and find a better way into game number 2. And we're going to try to predict what's going to happen, because what does need to change, Purge? What is Aster going to look at most when they look back at that game? Where was like the one issue that they're like, okay, you know what, we can change potentially our opening?
It felt like to me like it's the same run at you issue. They didn't have good ability to run down their opponents, so their draft was a little bit mismatched. So because of that, it's not easy to take fights. They have all the support counters you guys talked about. That just made all their engagements difficult. So if they maybe have a different strat where they don't prioritize Enigma and they go for some like divey pressure hero, or maybe instead of picking Death Prophet for their mid, they could have some like, not that Void Spirit's great, but some Void Spirit type hero. Jump in, disable, burst, catch people like that. Puck is a good example. If you have those catches yourself, it makes your team fight easier to execute. You can hit the support back line. You can make the Draw Ranger run away instead of just sitting there outputting way more damage than she should. That could really upend the strategy.
It could indeed. We had the first pick going the way of Aster. So Gaimin Gladiators banned Broodmother, and Lina, surprise, that most likely is going to get changed for game number 2, and therefore it's going to be Aster that does not have the luxury of banning out, for example, the Leshrac that we see Gaimin Gladiators like a lot. Is that, how big of an issue do you think that's going to be, Sheep, for Aster?
Oh, that is a question. I'm not sure. I feel like you have to prioritize the Leshrac.
Yeah.
Like, because they are so, it's by far their most comfortable strat.
But are you then going to let Lina?
What do you give, Lina or Brood?
I think
Which
you
one?
have to give Lina. I think Lina is like, Liquid is paving the way here of counters. And I know we talked about people not living up to the same like skill level as them to deal with it, but it's got more shown than like Broodmother, for example. No one knows how to deal with Broodmother. Everyone hates Broodmother.
I have an argument in favor of what you're saying.
Okay.
XXS and Baboka are the ultimate bubbies, right? And they've played Magnus plus Rubik before. This is a very solid lane and game counter to Lina. It's a little hard to pull off, obviously.
Yeah.
It's all about just repositioning her, and you're double nuking the creep wave in the lane, so it's not like you have to kill her, but you can. She's still going to free farm, but you have these opportunities that like other heroes don't have to kill the Lina. I could see them pulling that out. I mean, they've literally picked it in this tournament, and they were playing it in DPC too.
There's also the one other option that happens is that they do let the Lesh through and give it to them first pick, and then they take IO +1, like IO plus DP as a response, because it's mostly like the Lesh IO that is like makes it really giga broken when game in play.
But it's just important that you get that IO combo like right there. You can't like just pick the IO and be like, oh, we'll figure it out later, because they're going to ban all the best ones, you know?
Yeah, because so far that exact scenario has happened, and it did not work out very well. It is kind of poetic that Aster, playing and Gaimin Gladiators playing their first main stage game here, and the first hurdle that Aster has to work on. How are we going to deal with Lina? It's a little bit of the story of the run-up to the major, and we thought we were kind of over it, but I guess once you change first pick, second pick, Gaimin Gladiators winning while having second pick, that must be a boost for them as well, Sheep, because traditionally, especially in this current patch, that is when you have the so-called handicap.
Yeah,
You don't
I
agree?
think playing on Dire is more important than the pick order, to be honest.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Dire is just too OP.
Yeah.
That hill ward outside of Roshan is so stupidly OP, and people realize that you're never going to kill a tier 2 anyway. Everybody used to be like, oh, of course, Dire is going to be playing in the Radiant jungle, and so Radiant's better at taking Roshan. Who gives a shit? You're not going to take tier 2s in Dota in this patch anyway. Like, the way that you win a game is by getting like a 30k gold lead, and then just run at towers and, okay, hey, come fight me. And then they do fight you, and then they lose. So it's like you don't need to pressure that tier 2. You just sit in your own primary jungle, which all the carries want to farm anyway. You put a ward on the high ground, you've got full Rosh access. And then it's like Radiant, you got to do some crazy smoke around that never works, by the way.
Or you like do the thing where you step on the bottom of the cliff, you look way up, and you put a sentry down, and then the entire enemy team just explodes you, and you're like, okay, we'll try again in like a minute.
And most supports can't even right-click the ward. It's like, there's an obs up there, guys. You have to walk all the way around up 3 high grounds.
It's so stupid.
It's tough.
It's definitely a very common cause of death, I believe, in games. Now, lucky for Aster, they'll probably be on the Dire side this time around as well, so they got that as a little bit of a bonus there. We're talking a lot about what Aster needs to change, because of course, Aster is the one that lost game number 1, and they did basically drop the game halfway, or after 15 minutes or so. Gaimin Gladiators, they're going to be happy that they won. However, first 10 minutes, they're like, you know what? We could maybe do a little bit better there as well. So where do they look, Purge? Because after a game, even if you won, you're not just like, oh, that was easy, let's go. Like, where do they reflect and see, okay, how can we maybe mind game Aster? Okay, Aster's going to change that, so we need to change that in ahead of time. Aster changing that.
I think the most important thing is that they get Tumbler Toy again. That way they can bait the ice shard jump. That was such a cool moment.
No, me and Steve were talking about this because I got really excited about it and I started typing it down, and then I remembered that Tumbler Toy goes on cooldown when you get hit. So he wasn't baiting it; he just didn't have it.
Potentially, there might have been like a quarter of a second or something. But yeah, it was like a 3 to 4 second window. Either way, it was like perfect timing. It's such a cool moment. Get that again.
It
Very
was
helpful.
really cool.
Clean up your laning stage a little bit. Obviously, Quinn did not need to get first blooded. That was definitively a mistake. But from there, he played safe, and they came back, so it's fine. So I think laning stage could have gone a little cleaner. But other than that, everything as a whole was good.
Yeah, that's the only thing on laning stage. So CY in the in the back is like, guys, you did good.
That was good. That was good. Yeah.
Do that again, please. But then, from the Radiant side, which is apparently a little bit more difficult in this current day and age.
At least the pull, the off lane pull is easier. But then again, they usually play to win their off lane. So, and that's what you do when you're like, well, we're gonna lose anyway, so we'll just pull and go 50-50.
Yeah.
I mean, do we know who took what yet?
What for the next game?
Yeah.
No.
Because then there's a chance potentially that Aster want to take second pick, and then they get to do Dire again anyway.
It could happen.
Why would you want to do second pick? Because then you force Gaimin Gladiators to ban Broodmother Lina? Is that a little bit of what we're thinking?
I think there's
here?
3 good heroes, 3 really good heroes right now, depending on the team.
Brood, Lina, and?
Yeah, exactly.
So
in question mark.
Plus
one. The +1 to me is for this team, obviously it's Leshrac. It's okay, we take Quinn's Leshrac away. And it's I can understand that. Even when Quincy Crew was getting shellacked out of tournaments and stuff, Quinn was still carrying with this Leshrac, and people were banning it. So it's his hero, and clearly they're able to play around it, especially because Boom also played it. So yeah, makes sense. But first pick, very solid. I would prefer first pick in this patch.
Yeah.
That Lina.
I've heard like alternating ideas, like from talking around the hotel with people.
Yeah.
Some people just think, I mean, second pick is just naturally like easier to play when you get the counters on lanes. So I don't know, it's hard. I look at Aster, I think like first of all, they shouldn't have let the silencer through with Enigma Phoenix. That just seems terrible.
Yeah.
And then second of all, like more so the draft, they just need to fix up their gameplay because they won the lanes. They should have snowballed this DP.
Yeah, apart from the bottom lane, they didn't win the Phoenix Morph lane, right?
Yeah.
But that was because of a new improved lane tech.
Ah, the lane.
And like
The
lane
lane
counter. Like it is hard to play Phoenix into silencer. Like you just put last word on him.
When he dove away and went in a circle, I was
dive,
like,
yeah,
wait, why
dives
is
away,
he
he's
doing? Oh,
like-
that's right.
That feels so good at
That's
silencer, though.
That's like a weird, just unpicked, like an age-old counter.
Was that just an oversight because they did, they picked Enigma Phoenix first two Asters. Like, you know what, we're going big, we're going team fight.
I think it's easy to say this in retrospect for us,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, they relied too heavily on the black hole. It's like they relied too heavily on the black hole because the early game wasn't going well for them. Like, people don't want to rely on the black hole in this patch, which is precisely why everybody's picking Enigma into Treant Protector, which counters it. It's like, well, it's like a summons hero, right? It's just like Broodmother when Broodmother is banned, basically.
Yeah.
So it gets to that point, yeah, but that's just the nature of Enigma.
And it's just like another upper hand as well because it was so clear that their opponents are going to pick Phoenix anyway. So like slap Silencer in that lane. If he ever gets out of position, you're able to like curse and last word him.
Yeah.
He just dies every single time. So it fit the game and it fit the lane. It was just like one of those like happy little accident things.
I guess that's why I like the little range creep play they made so much. It just changed. It potentially just changed everything in that lane. Like there was a high chance, like you said, the Morphling and the Phoenix just control the CS super hard, and they don't get that.
Yeah. Phoenix gets like level 3, like level 2 Fire Spirits, and Morphling gets level 2 and like Waveform if he's owning, or Strength Morph if he's not. And it's like you're never gonna kill him, and Phoenix is gonna put Fire Spirits on you. It's like even more reason you're never gonna kill him. Yeah, they could have free farmed that lane for sure. That's why they did that.
They could have. There's one thing that we talked about a little bit before the game, and we have our definite answer of which team was favored more by the crowd. And you guys, we know what crowd's cheering for everybody equally. Don't worry about it. Everybody is loved. Now I will say that is true. Everybody did cheer for everything, but definitely a little bit louder for Gaimin Gladiators.
A little bit louder for Quinn.
Yes, a lot bit louder for Quinn.
They love Quinn. He would show up on the camera. Every time he showed up on the camera, everyone went wild. Like, they're just screaming. I mean, he gives it to them, right? This is a guy who's so fun and charismatic to watch on camera. Like, he's, doing his silly little, like, tongue out, blah, blah, blah. He's just so funny. He, like, engages with the fans, and, like, that's why, they loved him. They were like camping out our hotel as well.
They were. And they said, oh, there's Quinn. I mean, it's also like SA and NA, like we were one region until like 2016, 2017 or something like that. So it feels like a brotherhood. And yeah, there's a love-hate situation there. I think Quinn had beef with pretty much every South American player at a point and every North American player. But, that's the nature of brotherhood and bubbyship. It's a lot of love, and a little bit of hate.
Well, sometimes tough love.
I also realize at this point that everyone just likes flaming.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about watching football in the pub, sorry for America, soccer in the pub.
Okay,
don't say soccer ever again.
No, sorry. Football in the pub. Everybody's gonna flame every player.
That's
that was
pub game?
Oh no, I mean in a bar. In a bar.
Thank you.
Yes. Everybody's gonna play all the players all the time. That was offside, that was handball. You're gonna flame the ref, you're gonna flame everybody because you can obviously do it better if you were ever putting the game in a time in. And that's that is to say that if they flame Ronaldo very hard on a game, but they see them in real life, they're still gonna be freaking happy that they see Ronaldo, even after all the trash they talked about him in the pub bar.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of allegories to Twitch chat. It's like, if it's far away from everybody else, it's not a big deal. Go flame me in some other state. But if you come into my chat and you're like, hey, man, you're really missing all your last hits, it's like, yeah, please, I know.
I have essay stats, by the way. Do we want to get into like the essay stuff?
We
didn't have much time to talk about
because so we really want to talk about South America and the journey in Dota 2 that the region has made. But we want to give it proper time. And obviously, by this time, you will have realized that there is a slight delay for game number 2 on the stage for the draft to begin. So I'm trying to balance if we're able to have that time to talk about it. You know what? We're going to talk about it, and otherwise we'll just talk about it again, because I love to talk about it, because it is incredible. 2016 is the first year that the regions split apart. Isn't that right, Jenkins?
That is right, 2016. And I think the very first tournament that happened, we had SG Esports competing in, which major was it? Was it the Kiev major?
Was it the Kiev major?
I think it was the Kiev major.
It was.
And they took out Team Secret, and then they almost took out EG, which was crazy at the time because EG was just like the most dominant in the Americas.
Yeah.
It was 1-2.
And the crazy thing was their coach or their player was like very low MMR, I think. Do you remember that? I think that was the SG Esports game. I might be remembering a different tournament, but it was something like it was like a really cool story.
And it was, I remember it because it was the first major where it was kind of experimented that the bracket was, the group stage were Swiss group stage, and then the bracket was single elim. So they were like, it was one best of 3, and you're out if you lose. And the best of 3 was first with Team Secret and then with EG for SG, and both series, of course they won the Secret one, they lost the EG one, but both series were 3-game series. They were so close and they were so hype. I feel like South America really, like, I don't know, they set the tone for future tournaments because that explosive behavior, we still have that. That's still in them.
Just their style of play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun to watch. And I think we're in a really, really good spot right now for South America where I think this roster swap between Beast Coast and Thunder Awaken, now turned EG, was really, really good for EG. Unfortunately, I still think Beast Coast retain their issues as a team, like their hero pool and stuff, and sometimes their lack of coordination against like the upper teams. But EG look like they have probably the highest ceiling I've ever seen of any South American team. Their players are insane, mechanically skilled, high rank. Like they have like the hero pools. They're really good. I think a lot of pros rated them very highly coming into this tournament. Like this may be the highest ranking we ever see a South American team get.
And they got the
possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Unless they lose in like
the thing,
a couple hours.
Okay, that's we'll get into that. That's the sad thing is that depending on how our series go today, we could end up with Beast Coast versus EG in the lower bracket, which would be pretty sad to see one of them knock each other out. And I feel like the last time we had Beast Coast versus EG, it was the NA versus SA, and it was still kind of that brotherhood of knocking each other out. Very sad, but it could happen here.
Yeah, that would be heartbreaking. However, I think the crowd for that, everybody's gonna show up for that one. Like that is the classic. Hope that doesn't happen. So we'll see what happens later today, of course, and we'll also see if having the crowd on your side is a buff or not. For Gaimin Gladiators here, it definitely was a buff. They were getting all the cheers for almost every kill they got, and they took the win. They took it home, and they look to repeat that result in game number 2 as they're heading towards their booth. That also means that Aster is probably close behind, and we soon will be having game number 2 coming our way. Of course, we talked already about what needs to change in terms of drafts and in terms of maybe mindset and sides, big order, if you will. As a coach, though, RTK and CY, do we feel like that's going to be their focus? Maybe for RTK, it's going to be about the draft, but isn't it about, especially first game on LAN setting, isn't it about keeping your players like happy? Just mentally happy.
You think he's in the back fanning them? Is that what you're giving them nice little, I brought you presents?
Yeah, I think so.
It's okay, guys. So they had 2 counters to every single ultimate we had, but it's all right. We'll get them next time.
Yeah, well, RTK said, guys, it was all on me. My bad. I shouldn't have let them have silencer, and that's the reason why you lost. I'm sorry.
Let them vent a little bit. Be like, why did you pick that for us?
Yeah.
You suck. You're
Some
a bad
people
coach.
really need to vent and get it out of their system, so maybe you let them do that, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's you. I mean, there's no way they had no plan against the silencer.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no way they forgot about it. Well, oh, whoopsie, my bad. So they must have had a plan, which was to probably just win their lanes and then overtake the game. So I'm hoping that their coach was able to identify the worst reasons why they weren't able to execute their game plan and then bring that into the next game. Or maybe that's not even relevant. Maybe it's like, okay, do you want to try and run this again? If so, I can help you figure out why it went badly. Do we not want to run it again? If so, let's focus on our next draft.
I mean, I feel like a big moment was definitely when Nature's Prophet got Ags. Prior to that, it was just like Aster beating on towers to 3 heroes, and nobody on Gaimin Gladiators was even remotely close to showing up. But the moment they got that Ags, they had a good team fight. And I wonder how different the game would have been if that Ags comes out for Nature's Prophet and doesn't get them kills on the Gladiator side. Like, if they just take that fight better, or they don't lose as many heroes, or they go even, or they get an advantage, it really could have changed the tempo of things a lot. And maybe they could have used items to solve some of those other problems a little faster.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, you talk about items.
obviously there was the Witchblade on Death Prophet, and I think like, you know, one way that you can turn a game around like that or extend a lead is like you get a sheep stick on somebody, right? And you just run at them and you stun them, and it's like they have all this disengage. So like, yeah, that's when you force out the global silence on that pickoff. And then you actually have the black hole for the fight, and then there's no global. You just have to black hole the tree, and it's like an actual option to play the game. But when you go for some itemization like the sheep stick or the Witchblade that doesn't work, or you lose one fight, and so therefore the hero that would have gotten 3 kills in that fight has one less item now than what they would have in that scenario. It's like, yeah, the game could have gone any way. But I would say like a lot of people are talking about the draft from that game.
Yeah.
I think it's very likely that they're going to do like a hard reset, say, okay, we screwed up the draft. Let's like pick a little bit differently. There's a pretty typical issue where you pick 2 heroes that are both countered by the same stuff, and it's like hard to know every permutation of like when you can do that until it actually happens. You go, oh shit, like we didn't think this one through, because there's too many in Dota, right? There's too many heroes. So picking these 2 heroes together, I don't think we're going to see that again.
No.
Enigma and Phoenix. I really don't. I'm pretty confident in that, but I guess we'll see.
Before the series started, we talked about how for Gaimin Gladiators they play around Quinn and they focus on Quinn. He got Storm Spirit. He definitely popped off on that. We're disregarding the first 10 minutes, but after that he did pop off for that. We talked about Aster and how they played a lot around Monet. He got his Morphling. But he did have that lane, which was basically the only lane that didn't go as intended due to that new lane tech. But what do we want to see from Monet? Like, is there a particular hero that if Monet gets his hands on that, you're like, oh, you know what? Most likely game 3.
I mean, a different hero probably would have helped for sure. Part of the problem was just that he can't just like buy Ags and counter the edgy hero, because it was like there were so many cores on the enemy team that his hero maybe didn't feel as good. So maybe a different hero matchup would have felt a little bit better. But he's played a lot of Troll this tournament, Ursa, Lina. Troll Ursa probably doesn't feel that good against Drow Jin or Troll Ursa.
Gaimin actually banned the Troll. They respected the Troll.
Yeah.
So that's the hero he's played the most. A Morphling was maybe the best they felt they had left. Maybe an Illusion hero could have worked in some ways, but yeah, tough one.
I'm not sure if the hero was so much the problem. I don't think he was the one that was meant to take over the mid game. I mean, if they feel like they struggle to execute it, then maybe they could bring out...
Maybe. We're going to find out what they're going to bring out, because it is drafting time. We're heading into game 2 with our amazing draft panel.
Welcome back one and all to the draft panel. My name is Snam, joined yet again by Fear and Estini, and we are going to be witnessing the Game 2 draft between Gaimin Gladiators and Team Aster. Aster need this win definitely, and the route to get that win, Fear, is going to be a draft that sort of fits more into their comfort, right? Because that Game 1 draft, you were mentioning it, that XWY normally plays these Tusks, these Tinies, these Pangos, these Space Makers from the mid lane. That did not happen in Game number 1. What heroes do you think that will help them out to align that in Game number 2?
I mean, I just want to see him go back to their comfort zone, right? XYW, he played an amazing Death Prophet, don't get me wrong there, but they already had a first pick Enigma, right? So they needed someone to make some plays in that game, and by most people's regard, they got super outpicked there. Their only stun was Tusk. They abused it with the Storm Spirit. Jirachi had a completely free game playing DP versus not only Morph, but also the Death Prophet there. Yep. So perfect Drow game for them. It's going to be hard for Aster to get that outpicked again, but Gaming did get the Lina.
Yeah. Especially, like, Aster now, they have second pick, so I can't imagine an outpick here, because Aster, they use really well the second pick when they have the answers. And I already like that they use the first 2 heroes as an answer to Lina, especially if they play the MP on the offlane. MP offlane is really great against Lina. Of course, you open for a Batrider on 8, one of the strongest picks we've been seeing in the tournament. Yep. Usually you go for, so the Zark ban, the Quap, and Puck. I'm wondering if they don't ban Puck here, that's definitely a hero you could see.
I'm very worried, honestly, for Team Aster here because you were mentioning, Fia, that you wanted them to pick comfort. Gaimin Gladiators, this is super comfortable for them as well. This is going to be their 6th game on Lina at this tournament. So far, 60% win rate. This is going to be Quinn's 4th game on the Bat Riders. Only lost 1 game on it thus far. This looks already kind of complicated. And the thing I didn't like from game number 1, they just felt like they were comfortable playing fast on the side of Gaimin Gladiators. And Team Aster were really struggling to up the tempo. And, you know, Nature's Prophet Tree, yes, these heroes can be very strong, but the way Team Aster plays, they're not going to be able to play that fast, even though they have these kind of heroes that can accelerate the pace. So what else do you think is missing from their draft to help them out so they can keep pace with the side of GG?
So the thing is, when we came into this matchup, I really thought Aster was one of those teams that, like, to check all the check boxes, like, we got good stun, we got good team fight, they kind of just went away from that, right? So in this particular game, like, I don't want them to pigeonhole themselves in a situation where they have to crush their lanes, they have to have good 5-man, and if they do end up not winning every single lane, like last game, XYW had a great laning stage, the other two did not. That last pick Morph did not work out for them at all in the laning stage. So I really want to see them just go for more of a classic draft, something that can just transition a kill into a tower, into, hey, we can play the map because we have a hero that can punish split pushing.
Regrettably, though, they have not won a game with a Nature's Prophet just yet. And that worries me a little bit, given how strong the hero is as Dini. Normally, when you have these uber-busted heroes, you expect to be able to pick up easy wins here and there. But the fact that they haven't been able to make this hero work, I don't know, it worries me for what they'll be able to accomplish here in this game. But even after this game, what happens down the stretch against teams that are really, really good, not just at using the hero, but beating it as well?
Yeah, because they are a very team fight oriented team, so they want heroes that offer team fight. And Prophet, you don't offer that much of a team fight, although you go Aghanings and it helps on the team fight. You basically split the map and then you force the enemy team into having less numbers, so you fight. And they're just used it to this 5 against 5, so they want a Black Hole, they want a Phoenix Egg, they want these massive spells, and they need to play the map a bit better here, so that's a challenge they will have. Would be interesting that they that this time they don't forget having a catch hero, because last time was the Tusk, but it's a Tusk 4, so till you get the dagger, GG could do whatever they want. So they also need a catch hero for this Bat Rider, so he's not splitting the map.
Oh, this is am I getting deja vu here from game number 1? They literally just stole the exact draft in the exact same order of heroes as well.
I mean, a little bit. It looks like it here, but it does seem like this particular game, I'm very interested to see what Gaimin Gladiators is going to play as their POS 5, because there's no tree. It's on the other team, right? They banned the Clockwork out. There's no one dying. These are some of like the power picks when you play with a Lina as a position 1, right? So they're going to have to adapt a little bit. And normally the Lina wants to play with more of like that beefy frontline position 5 there. And they actually just stole the Enchantress from Aster. Aster is 5-0 with that hero. And I think maybe the NP was taken away by Aster from Gaimin Gladiators. So I think both teams are just kind of like taking away some comfort heroes here.
Stealing strats is the way to go when you're deep into a tournament like this. What do we pair this with, though, Dini, now that we see the Edge come out? Do we want the other support just yet?
Yeah, position 4, definitely. Because they showed 2 cores on the first phase. Here they want to show
a melee one, right?
Yeah, especially a melee one. There's Nyx, Ricky, of course.
Of course. How did we forget about this one?
Yeah.
Ricky Lina.
I'm trying to forget about this one.
I mean, he is Ricky. He does disappear every once in a while.
Hey, that's
there
true.
You go.
That's true. Oh, gosh. All right, Ricky Lina. Ricky Lina. They go back for the Tusk in the maybe mid, because they haven't picked up a mid laner just yet. I hope this is going to be mid for XWI.
Yeah,
but let's quickly talk about
like
this Ricky, boys. So firstly, actually explain to us, Dini, what is it that makes this duo so oppressive? To people that haven't been playing it as much, to people who have been graced by the grace of God and haven't had this in their pubs, why is it so busted? Why have so many teams been breaking it out?
Because Ricky is a good pick-off hero on the sense like Prophet's going to be splitting. He can never split the game because Ricky can shard you from so far away. He can use the sleep dart with the shard. And it's a hero that if he dies, then another hero show up. This another hero is going to chain fit. So you get 1 kill and basically you just make the enemies chain fit. You also get the smoke screen, which is great on team fights. But it's a hero that they are kind of shut down till the 11-minute mark because you depend on your shard of playing. And you also depend to have some burst follow-up damage. So this game, I don't see that much burst because the Lina don't want to get exposed. I see he's going to like dart, lasso, but then there's no follow-up. So I'd like to see more burst from their lineup. They're missing the carry. Not many carries with burst. Morphling was one that we've seen the last match, but I don't think it's a Morphling game, especially against Dinosaur.
I'm actually very confused here, Fia. You and I have seen quite a lot, right? Where Ricky was picked as the
Pudge.
counter.
There's
Pudge.
Pudge.
There is still
My
Pudge.
bad.
Yeah.
Go
Who's
and
going Pudge?
There is still potential for Pudge.
Because there's the follow-up on Ricky Pudge. That's the follow-up on the carry. I just see it.
I mean, Lina's going to be carry for sure, right?
Yeah.
So okay, yeah.
Lina, Ricky is going to be a lane, or Inch might be there. What I'm a little surprised about is the fact they picked Tusk here.
Into Ricky, I was about to ask you about that.
There's not only that, but it's also you're playing versus Bat mid. And from the DPC, we saw pretty much all teams that did pick Tusk, they were banning Bat Rider and like Ember. And it seems like Tusk is not a hero that has like a lot of tools to deal. This hero is also very good versus Tusk as well. Like you don't want to snowball into like the pit there. So that is a blind pick. I think they also are in the same train of thought that this Tusk has to be offlane to counter the Lina lane, try and go for kills with Silencer. I'm assuming that lane's going to be maybe Tree, and then the NP has to be their carry, so they're going to pick the Undying there. So I think they still do need a mid more than anything here, because like Queen of Pain, of course, is the one thing that normally comes to mind that you do want to pick against this. Storm is a hero that was just shown. It could be a good mid as well. I'm just really afraid if they do put Tusk mid against Bat Rider, Quinn is going to have the easiest lane of his life, plus now he's Bat Rider, and that's a really bad combination.
Sadly, though, Monet does not play Nature's Prophet. Like, historically, he doesn't necessarily play it. Hasn't played it at the tournament so far.
All right, so, like, what can he possibly pick that is good versus Ursa is banned. They banned Monkey King as well. And that's just a comfort pick, honestly. That's not even, like... It can work in lane versus Underlord a bit, but, like, he reduces a lot of your damage. He's not that overwhelming damage that builds... Main thing you want to hear is that builds stacks of damage to deal with the Atrophy aura there, but... It seems like they're really just and that hero's terrible versus Bat as well. So like they're just going for comfort here.
Is this the kind of comfort that you think will work out here, Astini? Or rather, actually, let's talk about the GG draft, right? Because it feels very comfortable for them as well, right? Ace is going to be playing as Underlord. He's played that a billion times. Quinn on his Bat Rider. We know he's very, very good. This draft seems perfect for them, and doesn't feel like Aster has the tools to really stop them from just playing their natural state of Dota.
Yeah, I like the Underlord here because it kind of blocks the possibility of a new mid if they didn't want to pick a carry here. It blocks the Spirits. It's a good catch with Atos. And it's a sort of follow-up for Ricky. You're not bursting targets, but you're keeping them there so like Ainch and Lina can follow up. And you also frontline for the Lina. I see it's a very complete draft. Lina is really strong in the meta, and I think it just out-carries Troll so easily. Also because I have Bat Rider with a lasso, so it's super hard to use your ultimate as a Troll. Seems easier execution here for GG, but a bit of hope for Aster in this game.
What do you think of this here? Is there any possibility of maybe Monet and XXX comboing together to be able to together out-carry the Lina, even if they can't do it themselves?
I mean, this game is going to be completely up to support rotations. If the lanes don't go miraculously for them, this is going to be another hard outdraft.
Another hard outdraft. Team Aster right now staring down the barrel of finding themselves in the lower bracket, where, of course, they'll still have another opportunity to keep their tournament hope alive, but at this point in time, it is looking like Gaimin Gladiators might be in a position to take this 2-0. Although, the one hope I do have here, yes, it is a comfort draw for the side of Aster. Yes, it might look weaker than GG, but sometimes when your back is really against the wall, you just pick what has been working historically. We saw throughout the group stages, when both Chinese teams that are here right now at the main event, PSG.LGD and Team Aster, they were both struggling, and then they did the same thing. One day, they just picked stuff that they hadn't picked since TI. They were like, well, this used to work. Let's just pick it up right now. So I don't know. I have a little bit of hope here that this could actually go well for them. And on the bright side, yes, they don't have that much team fight as Astini, but at the very least, they have Monet Troll, man. He's only lost one game on this hero so far.
But
and
there's
this is
smoke screen on the other side.
Yeah, but he's gonna buy BKB.
I mean, all his Troll games have been versus Nature's Prophet. It's made a lot of sense. I've watched him the whole way. Like, that was a good Troll game. This is unfortunately just not one of them.
Is it a good silencer game, though, overall? It had a very phenomenal game number one, Astini. Is this the kind of game where we can have the same degree of impact from Baboka silencer as we saw in game one?
It's great against Bat Rider. That's a Bat Rider answer there. And it's also good to burst the Lina. You're going to like press and everyone's going to jump at her. That's one approach.
All right, we're going to be seeing, hopefully, that we get a Game 3 here for all the Chinese fans at home who want to watch Team Aster progress. But for the GG fans, they'll be hoping for a quick 2-0 so they can continue their tournament life in the upper bracket. To find out which of these two outcomes will occur, we send it over to our incredible casting duo. We have the captivating Cap. We have the salacious SVG. Gentlemen, take it away for Game 2.
Ooh, damn, salacious. You're salacious. Did you know that?
What is this man saying over there?
Avery like frowned. When he heard that, he was like, Like he got insulted for some reason. Captivating Cap, though. I like that one, Snare. Let's get into our game 2 of Aster versus Gaimin Gladiators because we already have... never mind. We're good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, guys. We got a little pause, so
yeah,
it's
they
all
paused
good.
for Cap's
Don't
monologue.
worry about it. We're going to be okay. But draft-wise, game 1, problem. Game 2?
Understatement. Understatement of the day, I believe. That was a lot of problems in that game.
When they literally couldn't fight like past 15 minutes, yeah.
This is not a troll game. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know why you want to play troll in this game. Looks miserable. I barely want to play troll at all. But like in this game, maybe the one saving grace is if you get the late game here, you get some ags from Roche. You start dispelling some napalms and some random stuff. I don't know, man.
You're really reaching right now, aren't you?
It looks like I don't see any of these heroes from Gaimin Gladiators and think I want to play troll into it. And their lineup has to have troll come online at some point. I believe in Furion.
Yeah, Fear was like Ursa, Monkey King. Those two were banned. Was there another hero you could possibly think of? I mean, I kind of get like Underlord just kind of sits there. Troll gets to just hit him in lane. Maybe your damage is reduced by Atrophy Aura, but at least you can build up some of those fervor stacks, right?
I'm not worried about the lane. I don't really ever worry about troll lane, especially when they have Treant. I'm just worried about the mid-game fights. You're playing versus Bad, who's going to kite you out. Notoriously bad matchup. Ricky Cloud, Mischance, and a Sleeping Dart, pretty annoying. You have Underlord Pit, Atrophy Aura that's going to reduce your damage on a hero that relies on attack speed and doesn't necessarily build a huge amount of damage if you're going early BKB or something. Enchantress, another hero that you have to commit ult to kill. Even then, is it worth it? You're getting kited out from a slow on top of it, and Lina's going to outrange you the whole game. Is that enough?
That was very, honestly, I like kind of zoned out there halfway through that list. And 5 minutes, it was still going.
Because Troll is going to zone out halfway through these fights when he encounters all of that, which means he needs team help. So you got to look at what Aster's going to bring to the table. I think XXS can have a much better game and a lot higher impact this time around than that Enigma draft. I like that, because I think for this team, he has to have a really standout performance for them to feel natural in the game. And I think Furion can always do that at this tournament. I think it's very hard to shut this hero down. We saw the Bat Rider instantly come out. Quinn's job is this game is to make Tusk and Furion, and if there wasn't a troll, all of their lives hell, right? If he can hunt them on the map, he's going to be happy. And
he's got 6 napalm stacks, and he's still punching Quinn in the face. What's going on here?
I mean, this man, he didn't hear no bell. He didn't hear no bell.
I didn't hear no bell. Keep it going. Ace in a little bit of trouble. Almost died there. That was a little scary. Almost gave up.
I mean, you can play to reset the stacks with Snowball in this matchup. So this Tusk Bat matchup is not that bad for Tusk. I see a lot of Tusks get out of it. Of course, in the game, it's pretty rough. I mean, lanes, I don't put a lot of weight on lanes in this meta, but these lanes should go better for